So I want everyone to be patient with me. The content that I will be putting down today will come with receipts, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you all. Welcome to the Information Man Show. All right, this has been a labor of love, everybody. I appreciate you coming in again. But I'm going to show you some receipts. There's a lot of things that is happening behind the scenes that was going on that a lot of us need to pay attention to. Now, I've got clips, I've got video clips, I've got black women that were in the court to witness some of. So what's happening is that you got some black people, that there's black people who feel that Karmelo Anthony was railroaded, that it was a rigged situation. There are some people that are saying it's racial. There's some people saying, oh, this is not racial. This is just the law. There's even black people who believe that black people that are saying it's racial, something is wrong with you. Now, I learned a long time ago in college, one of my professors, I took a course in black studies amongst many courses I took when I was in college. And he said, Dr. Professor McGee, God rest his soul, a man who was one of the tops in the game. And we had a class called, it was melanin and pigmentology. And he said that race always matters in America because America, I don't care what anybody says, I'm in my 56 years, I know it to be true. Race always matters in everything that has to do with black people in this society. Neely Fuller Jr. said the same thing in the Pensatory Concepts in his books, that race matters in everything in this society because there's areas of activity that black people don't control. We don't control law, war, politics, right? White supremacy controls sex, politics, education. Yes, it does. It controls all. We already know that the legal system in this country was never set up for black people in the first place. And I'm going to show you data to prove out what I'm talking about. Because, see, a lot of people get on panels and they shoot a lot of stuff out. I'm going to show you the data. I'm going to show you the stats. I'm going to show you the history. We're going to show you the conflict. Now, by no means, I'm going to say this loud and clear so nobody can come in here and say, oh, you know, what about, you know, Austin Metcalf? I am not condoning the stabbing, the taking of the young man's life. I do not agree with Karmelo Anthony having to take it to that level, because now what has it done? It has put him in a situation where he's looking at 35 years and he won't get out until what? He's about 18 or 19 years old. Let's do the math. He'll probably be in for minimum. He has to do minimum 17 to 18 years, which means he'll be in prison until he's about 36, maybe 37 years old. I believe 37 years old, maybe 38. That's a big hunk of his life that is in the balance now because of the decision that he made to stab him because of what? What do they always say in Texas? You have the right to stand your own ground. I'm going to show you the stats, the stature on the issue around using a knife. Matter of fact, let's stop the BS right now. Let me show you this right now. This stat right here is the one I want to show you. Texas Penal Code, Section 46.03 permits individuals to carry small pocket knives on school grounds and at sporting events. Well, he was at a sporting event. Though it is strictly restricts large knives, entirely banned all weapons from school property without written authorization. Now, he did not, Karmelo Anthony did not have a knife that was at the length, that was the restrictions of the penal code in Texas. Section 4603. I'm coming with receipts today. I'm coming with facts, not emotional stuff. I'm just going to give you the facts because when I finish this up, Karmelo Anthony may and his family, provided that they can get a proper lawyer this time around, they may have a better claim for the appeal. Their lawyer did not do a great job. Their defense team did a horrible job. I'm about to show you why they did a horrible job. There's a little secret. There's a little situation. There's a little relationship. There's a conflict of interest. And the Bill Whisker, I think is his name, who was it wasn't the young white guy with the glasses who I thought was the trial lawyer. It was Bill Whisker, who was the trial lawyer. There's a relationship that he has with this whole situation in Collin County. I'm also going to show you a video where someone exposes the fact that they weren't supposed to have this trial in Collin County. This trial was never supposed to take place in this place right here we call Collin County. I need y'all to share this video. I may or may not get many views because, I'm not in the algorithm with this quite a bit. I haven't been cranking out videos on this every single day. Y'all all know that I was one of the first people amongst everybody on YouTube that was on top of this Karmelo Anthony situation when it first broke out. I need you to share this video on your social media right now. Hit share it to Facebook, share it to X, share it, and share it wherever you need to share it. They weren't supposed to have this trial, and nobody requested for the trial to be moved to Collin County. It was supposed to take place in Dalton County. So they moved this to a county that would be favorable. You see, ladies and gentlemen, when I get finished with this video, you'll see that there's a relationship between the prosecutor, Tolbert, you'll see that there's a relationship between the prosecution and the defense team. You'll see when I get finished with this that there's a relationship between all three, prosecutor, defense team, and judge. And when I get finished with this, you'll see, and I want to put this up here. You'll see that there's a relationship with Jeff Metcalf, who is a racist. See, back when this first thing happened and we said that Jeff Metcalf was a racist, we had people telling us, and even black folks, even raccoons, that were telling us, oh, y'all need to stop making it a racial thing. Oh, come on. The man ain't racist. He told us on his own Instagram or his own social media that he was under a gag order. And he had been holding back all the thoughts, everything that he wanted to say. Jeff Metcalf told us exactly who he is, what he is. And remember, he raised Austin and Hunter. They were raised by this man that you see on the screen right here. They were raised by this man who told you on his social media that he had a new name for Karmelo Anthony. He said, Jeff Metcalf said, watermelon felon remarks. That that is a racial slur, that is racially charged, but yet we got black people on social media telling black people that we're making it a race issue. And Jeff Metcalf has stepped up to the plate and he has added to the discourse of racism. Tell me I'm not wrong. How y'all gonna tell black people not to make it about race? That we only supported Carmelo Anthony because he's black. No, we supported Carmelo Anthony because we know that black people don't get a fair shake in this society. Let me go ahead and put my brother on the screen. We got my man who's been tearing it up over there on his channel, getting great views, but he's in the algorithm because he's cranking it out every night. And that's my man, No Cap Freezy, who's giving me a super chat. My brother right there. $5 super chat for No Cap. My brother, salute to you. We'll be doing something together very soon. He's in the algorithm, y'all, because he's been cranking it out and he's been able to get people on his show that were in the courtroom. I'm going to show you today people that were in the courtroom on video explaining the corruption that was going on in that court. I'm going to show you a video that exposes how not only do they prosecution and the defense team that's supposed to represent Carmelo Anthony where they have a relationship. They used to work together. I'm also going to show you that there's corruption. There is corruption in Collin County. Oh, the DA who's at the head of this whole thing, they got themselves caught up in a scandal. Hang on for a minute, y'all. They got themselves caught up in a scandal. Hear me out. I'm keeping that on the screen for the moment. You put this back up here. They got themselves caught up in a scandal, y'all. The DA, and I'm going to show you the receipts on that. The lawsuit against Collin County DA, the Dallas, a $175 million workplace sexual harassment and discrimination settlement involving several Collin County officials was finalized on Monday, according to attorneys for 6 current and former employees of the county district. Now, one of those individuals that was involved in it, let me correct something. It was Toby, who was a defense lawyer for Carmelo Anthony. Bill Whisker was the prosecutor, and the prosecutor, Bill Whisker, was involved in these shenanigans. So they're corrupt to the rooter to the tutor. While we got black people, raccoons on social media, on platforms, on panels, telling black folks that we're delusional, that we're making it about color, when Jeff Metcalf just made about color when he said the things that he had to say racially. So therefore, the gloves are off. We can say whatever we got to say because he made it racial himself. He claimed to us that he didn't raise his kids to be in the racial, to be racist. Well, all that stuff he was talking, man, he said things about, he said horrible things. Horrible. I'm going to give you an example because I've got so much to show you, but let me just give you an example with this right here. For example,
black fatigue, it's real. I'm sorry. He's the only one in your family without a damn record. I guess that's something to brag about in your culture. I got a new name for Mello, okay? Because he was such this little boy y'all were trying to portray. How about watermelon felon? How's that one strike? Black fatigue.
Boom. Did y'all hear that? He made it racial, even though. So just imagine that he raised these boys. Austin, these 2 boys that tried to put hands on Carmelo Anthony, he raised them. And you see this picture right here with Carmelo Anthony. Look at what they did to him. Now, we know that we have black men will shave their hair down. You know, that's a style. But they did it as to me, as a humiliation, as a ritual, preparing him for prison. They'll tell you where they cut the hair off because they don't know if he's got, some type of lice in the hair and all that. That's all nonsense. This was a ritual to put this young black male in that position. Now here he goes with the way he wore his hair. Of course, he had cut his hair down, but they went immediately as soon as this trial ended, and they went with the ritual in which they like to psychologically and physically make us look real bad, tear us down spiritually and emotionally. This is what this is right here. A emotional tear down. Put him in the funky prison clothing. But I'm telling you right now, there's a relationship between this dude right here, the judge. And another thing about this judge, see, I'm coming with the receipts on this thumbnail right here. Judge Roach, or whatever the hell his name is, Roach. I think he got himself caught up or got in trouble with a Texas ethics code. The Texas Ethics Commission, no, not code, commission. The Texas Ethics Commission, the commission jurisdiction complaints commission on or about on August 11, 1999, considered in the matter of John Roach Jr. respondent. I think this man had a complaint laid on him. I think he had a complaint laid on him, allegedly. Now, we got to say that for the purposes of how this YouTube game goes. Let me put in here, Miss Independent. Yes, they do that to all incoming prisoners there. Yeah, they do that. I know how it works. I deal with guys in the joint, just so y'all know, in mental health. So I know how this whole game works. I know it better than most people, if not all of y'all in the chat room right now. Because I know what the rituals are to humiliate the young men. Now, Key D, hey, what's going on? 2127 said $5 super chat. Information man, thanks for sharing your insight on this free. Right, on Mellow. Yeah, free Mellow. Now, I need y'all to listen to me. Look, it's going to be a long evening. You might as well get your popcorn, your drink, your smokes, whatever you're into, long as it's not no, dangerous drugs and like that, okay? But get whatever you got to get, because I got data to give you. And after I finish this video, I'm going to have to probably cut this video up and repurpose it. And you know how that works when you repurpose videos on YouTube, because you want to focus on a particular, and because this video will be stuffed with all type of different angles in here. But I want to thank everybody for the super chats.
Thank you for the super chat.
My man, No Cap Freezy gave me a super chat. Make sure y'all check his channel out. He's been the real deal over there. Like I said, he's in that algorithm because he's been cranking out content every night. Right. And he's been great at getting people on his show who can tell their testimony because they were down there. Tonight, I've got some testimony, but these will be videos of people who were inside the court and said that you could feel racism in that court. And let me also say this. I'm going to get back to this lawsuit because the Collin County district attorney and those that were involved, like Bill Whisker, who was the prosecutor, they were all involved in the dirty deeds and the sexual harassment of women that they had to settle for a $101.75 million case. According to the original lawsuit, Mr. Willis, who is the DA in Collin County, engaged in ongoing patterns of sexual inappropriate behavior, as was reported, and I got the video evidence of this report. This show will be packed with all sorts of tidbits that will open up one's mind. Tonight is a night to make the naysayers look bad in the sellout raccoon Negroes who tell black people that we should not see the racial component. Everything about this was a racial component. They put this trial in Collins County where it wasn't even supposed to be because they could cook the books there because they already allegedly are corrupt in that county. Let me let you know from me doing some research what was going on. These are people, this stuff that I'm going to tell you came from people that were in the court to see it. The father, Jeff Metcalf. This is important, Mr. Watermelon Man. Mr. Watermelon Man, right? He calling black people watermelon. The father of Jeff Metcalf of Austin, Jeff Metcalf, who is, we know, is a racist, as racist can be. It was said by people that were in the court. I took these notes from people, black people who had a seat in the court. So this ain't no lie. This ain't no make believe. In the video of Jeff Metcalf talking this crap, it ain't no AI video. It's legitimate on his platform. While Jeff Metcalf was in the court, he was making signals. So what do I mean by signals? When the witnesses would get on the state on the stand, whether it like Hunter, he would do little signals with his hand and do stuff like to correct them. Or witnesses that maybe he had a relation, or witnesses that he knew of, he was making signals in the court, and the damn judge didn't stop it. People who were in the court said they witnessed. The judge said that he would not allow any shenanigans in his court, but yet he allowed Jeff Metcalf to get away with making signals, smoke signals to people when they were making their statements, and the damn judge didn't stop any of the shenanigans. He also allowed Jeff Metcalf, I think the wife, and another thing I need to let y'all know. Ask yourself, you never see Jeff Metcalf with his wife, because why? This man was an abuser, which is why he got allegedly his jaw broken by his son, because he was an abuser. And there's some that say allegedly that he has a drinking problem or is a drunk. You've never see him on any pictures with him and the wife embracing each other. He was not well liked. While he's talking about black people, black kids having fathers, he wasn't the father of the year himself. Share this damn video. This man was allowed to make signals and all sort of stuff. Karmelo original mugshot. And this is very important. They didn't show the whole video. Most people that were in the court, black folks who reported that they were not showing full video of what everything happened. A lot of black people were saying they didn't show it from the beginning. They were cherry picking what they wanted to show, meaning they wanted to show when Karmelo Anthony was fighting back, but they never were showing video of what happened at the very beginning that united Karmelo Anthony, unfortunately, taking out the knife. Now, once again, I don't endorse anyone using knives and all of that. I wish he would have never did any of this stuff, because he wouldn't be in prison right now or in jail. But they didn't give the whole court the whole bit. His defense team failed him. On Karmelo Anthony's mugshot, which the media did not show us, he had welts on his face, showing that he was attacked. How do you have welts if you can't have welts on your face? You can't have marks swollen. You can't have pieces of your hair pulled out unless somebody was fighting you. His position is that I'm defending myself from being what? From being picked on, being bullied, or being told to move. We know that his friend, his father already told us, there ain't no damn friends in this situation. We know that his father already said that the friend who invited him, or the friend that he was talking to under the tent, changed his story and said he didn't know Karmelo Anthony, that he didn't know him. When come to find out, he got pictures with Karmelo Anthony with that kid, with his family member or grandparent or a grandparent of some sort. That's what Drew Anthony, his father, said. Put sevens in the chat room if you're with me and share the video. Another thing that was happening in the court that a lot of you may not know, and y'all gonna tell us it ain't a racial issue. You make me laugh.
Tell the truth.
The judge and the prosecutor, Bill Whisker, because they've got a relationship that goes all the way back. And Bill Whisker has a relationship with the DA, Willis, because they both were being accused of doing things, doing really nasty things to women in Collin County. Bill Whisker, the prosecutor, and the judge Roach were laughing, inappropriate at times, buddy laughing. That was something that was witnessed by people in the court. The judge was laughing when the judge made a joke. The prosecutor was laughing with him. And when both were making jokes, they were laughing with each other. You in a court of law supposed to be serious. Why is there any laughing going on between prosecutor and judge? Because they know each other. They thick as thieves down there in Collin County, Texas. They didn't play all the video, and I touched on that before. These are some key areas that were going on that was stated by people that were in the court. Before I get to the main meat of my content, let me go ahead. This whole thing, what happened to this young brother is a shame. I just wish he had never had a knife on him, because when we defend ourselves, it don't go our way. It never goes our way when we defend ourselves. This young man is looking at 35 years. He going to get out when he's 36, 37 years old. People telling me, well, that's not bad. He going to be out. That is bad. That's a good hunk of his life incarcerated. And for those of you who ain't never been incarcerated, those of you who have never worked or been in a correctional environment, you have no idea of what really goes down in there. He will be in danger. There may be a Peckerwood. There's these street gangs. There's these prison gangs. He made the Aryan Brotherhood. There's tons of Aryan Brotherhood and Peckerwood gangs, as they call them, down in Texas, that would love to get their hands on Karmelo Anthony. Thank you, Afro Punk. I appreciate that. The 199 super chat. We appreciate that around here. Let me get into the heart of the content. Josephine, thank you for being here. Another CG, thank you for being here. Dallas Warren, thank you for being here. Alicia, thank you for being here. All Reliable, thank you for being here. DC Mumble, thank you for being here. Blackest Magic, thank you for being here. Street Media TV is in the house. Let's get into this. This thumbnail that you see right here are black women that were in the court. You think I'm going to believe what the system tells me and not the black women that you see on this? They had no reason to lie. Why would I want to believe what the system tells me or the media tells me when you got people right here like these sisters right here who were in there and had witness? Check it out.
Yesterday, I got out here around about 2 o'clock in the morning. and I live in Grand Prairie. I'm president for Grand Prairie NAACP, so I was thinking like them. I said, they're only allowing 27 people to go in that courtroom. I wanted to make sure that I was going to be within that 27. So I said they're probably going to start lining up around midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. When I got out here at 2 o'clock in the morning, I thought I was early, but I was number 14. And it surprised me to see some of the kids that testified against Karmelo. They were already in line, meaning someone told those kids to be out here around 1 o'clock in the morning while they can make sure that those kids get seated in the courtroom yesterday.
But day before yesterday.
So sitting there in the trial on yesterday to hear the closing remarks, the arguments, the sentencing, looking at the jurors that was actually selected, no black jurors, watching jurors agree with the Metcalf attorney as far as motion their heads like that, there was no way Karmelo was going to get a fair trial.
Right.
It goes deeper than the.
Did you hear what she said? She said that they were nodding. They already, these women said that the books were already cooked in that court. Already cooked.
Jurors had already made up their mind before they even was seated.
Right.
And so it was a trial to where I heard someone state they felt like it was a lynching. To watch Karmelo tremble, cry, and didn't really even get the support because he didn't really have a legal defense team. He didn't have a legal team there.
Who you think I'm going to believe? You think I'm going to believe raccoons on YouTube and social media that are on their platforms at night and during the day telling black people that we're dumb, that, oh, it's not about race. Oh, y'all don't know what y'all talking about. Why would I listen to these people and not listen to these sisters here and many others that were in the courtroom to see what was really going down? And they said that a lot of those kids on that, this is Karmelo Anthony's father said, some of those kids were changing up their stories. And particularly the one that he thought was his friend who flipped his story on Karmelo Anthony. The defense team, as I told y'all in the previous video, put somebody on the stand that they didn't even vet, didn't even know what the person was really going to say. And that person retracted their statements. The prosecution put 21 witnesses up. The defense team only put up 6 witnesses. There were no character witnesses. Karmelo Anthony played sports. Karmelo Anthony was an athlete. Why was there no coaches? Why were there no teachers? Why were there no individuals who could talk about him academically in the classroom? Why? The defense team, when you find out there's a relationship between the prosecutor and the defense lawyer that was representing Karmelo Anthony, you'll see why the fix was in. I don't care what nobody thinks, what you believe. There's too much evidence. This is why Karmelo, excuse me, let me slow down. Karmelo Anthony and his family may have a strong appeal as more shenanigans are starting to come out about this case.
He had a guy to where the judge yelled at his attorney and told him to speak up because they could not hear him. He didn't have representation. And then for me to be within that number to get seated along with her, we had to sit on the Metcalf family side.
Uh-oh, listen.
I heard remarks when they came out and they convicted Karmelo of murder. You saw the students, they were cheering, they were laughing. They were clapping. You saw adults that was laughing, clapping. The judge did not hold them in contempt.
And the judge is not supposed to let people do that. The judge said he would hold people accountable for that behavior, but yet he let them do that in this court. Don't tell me that there wasn't any shenanigans going on.
But before the verdict came out, the judge said, if I hear any outbursts, you're going to be in contempt, in jail. But I think that rule he was trying to apply to the black people that was in that courtroom, not for the white people, because when they convicted him of murder, they got to cheer on the bench. They got to smile on the bench, and the judge said nothing to them. Also, when they came back with the sentencing, after the sentencing of the 35 years, they allowed the family to do an impact statement. The aunt took the stand. Following the aunt, it was the mother. It was the son. It was the son. He got to take the stand. When he took the stand, he said to Karmelo, "Man, look up at me." Man, he didn't call Karmelo by Karmelo. Man, give me the respect. He had Karmelo. He addressed him as man. Look up. So that right there showed me already what type of person that he was. You know, the superior takeover.
Because you know his name.
Right.
His name
And then the father, when he got up there, he was allowed to cuss at Karmelo.
Woo.
The judge didn't hold him in contempt. He kept slamming to where the sheriffs in the courtroom surrounded Karmelo.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're hearing testimony from women that were in the court. This ain't somebody on some damn stream or some damn panel just taking stuff out of their mind and thinking what they think happened. They are telling you what did happen in the court. That this man, Metcalf, who we know is a racist because he's come out with his tirade, and I'm going to show you some of that today. We know he's a racist. He put out his tirade that he was in the court cussing at Karmelo Anthony. Everything that the judge Roach said that he would not allow in his court, he allowed to go on in his court. He only allowed the white folks to go on and behave like this. Didn't want the black folks to do anything.
In there because the media was not in there. They didn't get to see what we actually witnessed. Right. The media got in, the sheriff got in front of Karmelo. One got on the side of Karmelo. Another sheriff got behind Karmelo, and then the sheriff and the bailiffs got behind Jeff Metcalf because he got to come off the stand and walk by Karmelo.
And he wouldn't have did shit. And if he would have did something, y'all should have got up.
Yeah,
y'all should have followed that.
I was sitting on the first row, right behind Karmelo. So the whole energy in the courtroom, it had that racist overtone.
Yeah.
And they were trying to intimidate him by having the white students to come because they were lined up out here at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Those two boys that we were talking to that said that they see
they were there. They were there.
But they wasn't witnesses.
So why wasn't
seen
they
everything,
witnesses?
but they wasn't witnesses.
And then I asked them, how come
And
you
so-
not
I made it
witness?
here at 12.
So they were allowed to intimidate, make gestures in the courtroom while Karmelo sat there. And so lawyers.
Are you hearing everything that they're saying? So they are giving you so when black people say that there was a racial element and you got buck dancers on the social media who will tell you, oh, this ain't true. There was no race. Why y'all want to make it about race? You shouldn't listen to nothing that they have to say. You should be listening to people. But see, this shows you how black people, how we don't respect one another when you have black people like these ladies that were inside the court that are telling you how racially charged and biased. And as I'm going to show you, Toby Shooks, who represented Karmelo Anthony, this man has a relationship with this man right here, who I'm going to show you a picture of right there. You see right here, opposite sides for the first time. These two guys, I think Toby Shook was the defense lawyer for Karmelo Anthony, and the other guy, Bill Whisker, was the prosecutor who also got himself caught in a scandal in Collin County, along with the DA, Willis of Collin County, a county where this trial was never supposed to take place. Nobody asked for it. No one asked for it. They put it there for a reason when it was supposed to be in Denton County. They made sure and then when they talk to you about there was no black people that wanted to be on this jury, that's a damn lie. They got rid of the black people who might have said stuff that wasn't appropriate to say, but there were at least, I think, 3 or 4, maybe even 6 black people who were educators, highly educated black folks who were professionals who they got off the jury. So everybody on social media, all the buck dancers on social media keep going with that narrative about the black people who basically said, hey, I can't see myself sending a brother to prison, right? Those people who talked like that, they got booted off because you just can't say that. But what up? Then nobody is focusing on the black people who did not say all that type of stuff, who made it to a certain point and they, whatever reason, purged them off and used BS reasons. I'm going to play a video to let y'all see what I'm talking about. Let's get back to this right here.
You don't have to live in the Dallas area. Karmelo need a good legal team.
Right.
He needs a good legal team to represent
he damn sure
him
don't
in
have
the
one.
field. He doesn't deserve that. And I know now I'm looking at, I have grandchildren. Now we got to go back and we got to tell our children and grandchildren the rules have changed. The rules does not apply to black kids or black people.
The rules did change.
The rules have changed
for black people. It was
The
never
rules,
made.
the rules
It was never
have-
made.
The rules don't.
This must be said again. I said it in the beginning of this show. When black people, that were brought to this country in shackled slavery, or for those of you who say, hey, we were already here, the bottom line is when white men came to this country and put pressure on our backs to build this country, the laws in this land were intended for white men. They were never intended for black people or black men or black women or black children. That's why everything is off balance. And I'm going to show you right here with a stat. Check this out. Overcharging. So the question is, did Karmelo Anthony get overcharged in this case? Put 7s in the chat room if you believe he was overcharged. Overcharging problems. The measuring and act rates of overcharging and challenging, but studies consistently show that black defenders are disproportionately subject to harsher initial charges and mandatory minimums, which is why Karmelo Anthony has to do the minimum of 17 years. He'll be a 36, 37, or 38-year-old man by the time he can get out. No question. For instance, federal prosecutors filed charges carrying mandatory minimum sentences 65% or more often against black defendants than similarly situated white defendant in comparison to white defenders. You see right here on the scale, 65% of charges when it goes against a black person, man, woman, or otherwise, we're going to lose at the measure of 65%. You see the scale is tipped down against black people. White people get the benefit of the doubt. And if you don't believe that, let me show you something about the standards.
A lot of people have been commenting and DMing me this picture, which compares the verdict and sentence for Karmelo Anthony versus the verdict and sentencing for another man whose name is Kason Allison. And I'm not a lawyer, but But I decided to do a little digging to see what the actual similarities and what the actual differences are between these two cases. So let me tell y'all what I found. So first, let me fill you in on Kaysen's actual case. So back on May 3rd, 2022, Kaysen Allison, who was 18 at the time, was a senior at Belton High School in Texas. It was a Tuesday morning, and around 9.
Shout out to this sister right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link to her channel and the other channel that I got the other video from so that you can go over there and support these channels that are doing great work. Let's get back to it. And I'll put her channel name and everything. It'll be in the description of this video.
9:47 a.m., him and another friend of his walk into the boys' bathroom at the school, and by the time Kaysen left, he had stabbed his 17-year-old classmate, Joe Ramirez. Now, context as to what led up to the stabbing is that prom was 4 days earlier. And while the two of them were at a prom after party, they got into it because Joe felt like Kaysen was being aggressive toward the prom date of one of Joe's friends. So they have this verbal altercation, and Kaysen claims that Joe pulled a gun on him during this altercation. But it's worth noting that a friend testified at the trial that it wasn't Joe, it was someone else.
A friend of Allison shared today that he saw someone pull a gun on Allison at the prom after party, but it was not Ramirez.
So the two of them have this argument, and afterward, a Snapchat group message is created where Kaysen suggests that the two of them should fight at a park. Joe apparently says he's not really down for the park, so the two of them plan to fight at the school, but they never lock down a time and a place. Now, before the day of the fight...
Hope you're listening very careful because it shows you that when white kids or white men or white people are charged for similar crimes, they get the benefit of the doubt always.
Multiple of Joe's friends...
So even though, see, you'll have people on social media who will tell you, oh, you can't compare these cases. Yeah, you can. They will tell you, oh, well, Collin County has convicted other people that were white. But did they get, they convict white people in Texas. They convict white people of crimes in every state in this country. But when you look at the data, as I already told you, 65% of the time, 65% Black people tend to get the rawer deal, get the most craziest mandatory minimum more than any other group. So yes, there are white people who have probably been prosecuted by Collin County, by the DA who's crooked allegedly, by this Judge Roach who is questionable as well, allegedly. Yes, they probably have convicted other people of other races or that are white as well. That may be true. But if you go into Texas and look at the overall breakdown of how Black people in the state of Texas overall and just in the injustice system overall, we disproportionately have a lot of times the worst representation. We get charged for more than our white counterpart will get charged in terms of the amount of time they'll do. We get higher charges more rapidly, more consistently than they do. That's a fact, and that's in the damn data and can't be argued by any of you, because on my channel, I deal in facts and data and stuff that you can look it up. You know that we are disproportionately hit hard in the criminal justice system. And there are more Black men that are doing time for crimes that they either didn't do or they did a crime and got more time than their white counterpart who did the same crime, if not worse. Let's go.
Testified that he told them he planned to seriously injure Joe.
Another close friend of Allison returned to the stand today discussing text messages between the two of them, and those texts contained things like Allison saying, "Bro, bring me a gun." Quote, "He wanted Joe on life support and wanted to stomp his head in."
And then when detectives pulled Kaysen's Snapchat messages, they heard a voice recording of him telling someone.
He's telling this kid got less time than Karmelo Anthony, and he actually was premeditated in what he did. Left messages saying, I am going to do what? Karmelo Anthony did not go to that track with the intent to take someone's life. Yes, he did take a life. And like I said, I wish it would have never happened. I wish he would have never did that. I don't endorse kids or anybody taking weapons out and taking people's lives and deleting them. But you have white kids and white people who do similar crimes, if not worse, and they get lesser minimums than we get. That's a fact. I know, and I don't want anybody that says I don't know what they're talking about. I know what I'm talking about because I study the crime statistics where I'm at, and I deal with guys in the system, and I've seen people who have charges compared to the other to the other people that I'm talking about that were high. I have seen firsthand people who did crimes, same crime as their whiter counterpart, and their charges were higher. And then when you look at the county that they were convicted in and you see what the racial makeup was, you see the makeup of the community. Is it a more conservative community versus more liberal community? Is it a community that has a history with race? Let's go.
One quote, "We finna catch them tomorrow, and I'm going to send him to the hospital." So that all happens in between prom and Tuesday, May 3rd. And then on Tuesday, the school day starts. And after first period, Joe and 4 of his friends go to the boys' bathroom because that is apparently something they did every day.
Thank you, Miss Independent. Yes, Information Man, parole early release nationwide is usually white. Yes, and I've seen it firsthand myself. So nobody on these YouTube streets I wouldn't waste my time debating anybody about these issues because I've seen it firsthand. Let's go.
But this time, shortly after they go to the bathroom, the school cameras catch Kaysen and a friend of his also walking into that same bathroom. Now, according to the testimony from the trial, this meetup was not planned and Joe was actually surprised to see Kaysen in the bathroom. Multiple witnesses who were also in the bathroom at that time testified that Kaysen did not want to fight at school. He emphasized they were close to graduation and he did not want to risk that, but Joe apparently wanted to fight. In a recorded
now, what I'm going to do,
Kaysen says that
I want to move this up for the sake of time. I want to get to the punchline of what she said here. And this is what I want to do right here. I'm going to move it up for the sake of time because I got so much more content that I need to show y'all. And here we go. Let's play this part.
4 days. Karmelo and Austin Metcalf, on the other hand, had no history. They didn't go to school together.
Wait a minute, let me move this up. I want y'all to hear this part right here.
And apparently known to jump people. Okay, so that's the background. Now let's do a quick run through of some of the similarities and some of the differences. First up, there's a clear difference in the history each of these defendants and their victims had with each other. Kaysen and Joe obviously went to school together and had some hostility with each other, even if only for 4 days. Karmelo and Austin Metcalf, on the other hand, had no history. They didn't go to school together and they did not know each other before that day. Next, let's talk about the planning aspect. So it's clear from the Snapchat messages that Kaysen and Joe were planning to fight. In fact, according to what was presented, Kaysen was the one who first suggested a location for the two of them to fight. And he communicated to multiple people that he planned on seriously injuring Joe through this fight. As far as planning on Karmelo's hand, there was no evidence presented in his trial that there were any communications or planning involved indicating that he was looking for this fight. Now, they both did have knives on them on the day of the incident that they brought to school grounds, but based on the evidence that was presented, Kaysen communicated his intention on using that knife, and there was no evidence presented that showed Karmelo communicated his intent with the knife. Okay, next, let's talk about the threat or warning that both of the defendants gave to.
So right here, she's getting ready to say there was no history, no pre-planning of knife, whereas in the Kaysen case had a history of pre-planning and premeditated, like I said, being premeditated, and a knife, he had an intent, but got less time than what Karmelo Anthony is getting.
Their victims. Kaysen told detectives in his recorded interview that he told Joe prior to stabbing him, quote, "Don't touch me or I'm going to stab you." And that has a lot of similarity to what Karmelo told Austin before he stabbed him, which was, quote, "Touch me and see what happens."
Right.
Okay, now let's talk about level of force. In Kaysen's case, there was video evidence that showed Joe punched him. And during the trial, there was testimony that that punch resulted in Kaysen having a closed head injury. And there was also claim from people on the witness stand that when they were all in the bathroom, Joe and his friends locked the bathroom door to prevent Kaysen and his friend from leaving. But that claim was never.
Stopping it right there. The sister has done an excellent job in her breakdown. The two different standards of justice. Kaysen, 18, stabbed a classmate, guilty of criminal negligence of homicide. He gets 10 years. Karmelo Anthony, 17, stabbed another teen, guilty of murder, 35 years. The white boy on the left side, Kaysen, was planning. He was premeditative, and he didn't get murder. They gave him criminal homicide. 10 years. They gave him a lesser charge. This kid will probably be out in 5 years. Karmelo Anthony has to do a minimum of 17 years, and hopefully he can get out when he goes to the board, and that ain't no guarantee. The white boy planned it, premeditated, the whole 9 yards, was messing with that, had a rivalry with that individual over time, only gets 10 years for taking a life that he planned. Karmelo Anthony didn't plan anything. He simply said, I was defending myself. And I don't say, and I'm not promoting using knives and doing all that stuff because I don't like it. I wish it never had happened. It should have never happened. It's not right. But the difference is Karmelo Anthony did not plot anything from the get-go. This guy was plotting from get-go to start to end. Gets 10 years, and he'll probably be out of prison in about 4 to 5. Well, Karmelo got to do a full 17 to 18 years. Do y'all understand what I'm saying?
Tell the truth.
It's a damn shame. Please put 7s in the chat room if you get where I'm coming from with this situation. Let me show you another stat line on crime. Remember this guy right here? Remember this guy right here? Let me put this up. December 22nd. Y'all gonna say, oh, this ain't relevant. Yes, it is relevant. December 22nd, 1984. Bernard Gates from New York. The subway situation. Remember? 37-year-old white man shot 4 black teenagers on a downtown New York City subway train. The youth had approached him and asked for $5. Now, unless they put their hands on him and do him bodily harm, you can't just take somebody's life for asking you for money. We got homeless people and people who ask you for stuff on the streets, people that's homeless, that's, living on the streets that'll ask you for stuff. That don't mean you can take out a whip and just take them out. But one guy asked him for $5. Gates claimed that he feared a robbery. Well, didn't Karmelo Anthony say that he feared his life? Right? Wasn't that his position, that he feared his situation? Excuse me. Wasn't that his situation, Karmelo Anthony, that he feared? So the white man can say that he feared for his life. He feared that he was going to be robbed and pulled an unlicensed revolver and shot all 4, permanently paralyzing and brain damaging one of them. So wait a minute. This man pulls out a knife. This man pulls out a gun. One of the kids say, hey, let me get $5. He feared that they were going to rob him. So even before they even did anything, after asking for the $5, some of y'all may not remember this. If you're not a Gen Xer or a Gen Xer like me or a baby boomer, you may not know anything about this case. This was a big case back in 1984, a big case in New York. He shot him, all 4 of them, paralyzed one, only because he feared that they were going to harm him or rob him. So he took their life. I'm going to say this again. Didn't Karmelo Anthony say that he feared his life as well? Isn't that what he said? Then he was acquitted in his 1987 criminal trial. A jury acquitted Gates of all attempted murder or deletion and assault charges. He was only convicted of 1 count of carrying an unlicensed firearm for which he served 8 months. Only 8 months, y'all. 8 months. Karmelo Anthony got 35-year sentence, going to do 17 with the minimum, mandatory minimum. The other white boy case that I just brought up, and there's many others like it, he getting 10 years when he plotted to take somebody's life. This guy was able to get off based on he feared what these youth were going to do. And I got to be honest, during that time in New York, there was a lot of mugging on the subway. I got to be honest, it was. But they never attacked him, and they never attacked him with a whipping or anything, because he never said that they attacked him first. He simply said they asked me for $5 and I feared. So I just want y'all to understand that when we talk about 65% of these cases go against black people in terms of us getting higher sentences, it's a fact, it's real. So I want somebody to explain that. And I don't want to hear, well, that's Texas, that's New York. No. The bottom line is these are examples, and there's more than what I just showed you, where white people committed crimes. One, because he feared for his safety. So he pow. He didn't just shoot one time. He shot them all. Two, the other white boy was literally having a back and forth rivalry with the other kid, was stalking the other kid, and was plotting. Make that make sense. You can't make it make sense, because that's the way black people are treated in the non-justice system of this country. And it's been that way for a very long time. Let's listen to the family of Karmelo Anthony and how they got bad advice. Check it out.
This was a kid situation that a lot of adults made it about their personal, well, how they really wanted to feel. This is the time they wanted to show on how this is how we really feel about y'all. And they used my son, for example.
Mm-hmm.
What did Karmelo tell you happened that day at the track meet?
I mean, he was sitting there seeing his friend. Once you get the reports and everything, he was actually his girlfriend's cousin invited him to the tent. Mm-hmm. So when they invited him to the tent,
the cousin, the one that he's talking about, is the kid who changed his story, had the audacity to say that he didn't even know Karmelo Anthony. That was a lie.
Just, hey, what's going on, such and such. It was raining. He sat there. Then as you know it, you had these two guys who approached him.
Oh, that's what I want to show you. Thank you for reminding me of what you just said, Jackson. Let me get back to that. You're right. Now, here is the video that I want to show. I'm going to get back to the family and what they're talking about. I know some of you probably have seen this video. I'm going to show a little bit of that video, but let me show you, for all you folks on social media talking about, oh, the black people had a chance to be on the jury, but they blew it because they got up there talking about how they couldn't put a black man away, and oh, you black folks are uncouth and y'all don't have no type of home training. There were black people who got up there professionally and handled themselves well and still got purged for dumb reasons. Let me let you hear right now. I'm coming with the receipts today. Don't play with me. Information Man show.
Who were black, who made it to kind of the final phase of the jury selection process. They were struck by the prosecution. See? And the defense raised what's called a Batson challenge and put before the judge their belief that they were struck because of race. And the prosecution offered by way of response that they were struck for what we call neutral reasons, that they were educators, that this involved witnesses who were going to be coaches, students.
Okay, ask yourself this. Why wouldn't you not want to have educated people on the panel? So black people, so for all of y'all that kept saying that there were black people who purposely took themselves off of this by saying stuff, saying stuff that they shouldn't have said. Y'all kept focusing on that, but nobody was focusing on the black people who should have been on this jury, and they struck them. They said it was because Now, the defense team, as weak as they were trying to do a BATRA based on reasoning of race. This will play a role and maybe help them in their appeal, because these individuals, you should only strike someone from a jury if they show that they're biased, that they can't be partial, that they've done something that make themselves unworthy of being on that jury. They're striking those black folks because those black folks got penalized for being professionals, for being teachers and coaches. Why wouldn't you not want those kind of people on the jury who have an understanding of how kids think and how they behave? People who have firsthand experience with dealing with juveniles, young people, and the way their minds work. But you strike the black people that should have been on the jury because they were educators. Let's continue.
In a school system, and that I don't know if the argument was that they believed there would be a lack of partiality, or that it would be more difficult, or that they would believe or disbelieve the witnesses more or less, but it had to do with their field of education. And the judge bought
their field of education. Can anybody tell me with a straight face, have you ever heard of a situation where jurors are removed from a jury because of their education? They remove them. It ain't like these. Check this out, everybody. I'm about to have a heart attack. Woo, I'm coming to join you, as Red Fox used to say. These individuals that they struck from the jury, they didn't work for the school. They weren't coaches or teachers at either one of the schools of Austin or Karmelo Anthony. Why? So they tell black people, go to school, get education. Then when we get on a jury where we have sort of a well-roundedness about ourselves, now we get struck from the jury. We get penalized because we got education. Do y'all understand what I'm saying to you? I'm very pissed off. Do y'all understand?
Tell the truth.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Please put sevens in the chat room. How does that make any sense? Let it rip again. Play that little part again just one more time.
Or that it would be more difficult, or that they would believe or disbelieve the witnesses more or less, but it had to do with their field of education.
So as the sister said, and she's a lawyer. Everybody I'm showing you on here are legitimate people. This sister is a lawyer. So it had nothing to do with whether they could be partial in this case and do a good job looking at the evidence, but because their educational background and their profession, and they don't even work in the schools, these two that come.
And the judge bought it. Now
the judge brought it. Yeah, because
facts and challenges under the current iteration of that law, they're very, very hard to prove.
Judge Roach, he brought it because him and Bill Whisker, the prosecutor, were laughing with each other. He allowed Jeff Metcalf to put signals in the courtroom. He allowed the people to laugh and giggle in that courtroom, put restrictions on black people. He has a relationship with the prosecutor, a relationship with the DA. Obviously, he has to have a relationship with the DA, a DA's office that's been under scrutiny and was sued for $750 million because they were doing mistreatment towards women that worked in Collins County in the courts. I'm gonna put this up again for anybody who didn't see this other document that I had also showed. Give me 1 minute. I had put this up, right? Right here is what I want to show y'all. Right here. Thank you for your patience. Remember, I said between Karmelo Anthony and Judge Roach in the middle is a document. I wasn't able to get the full document. But this man was brought under Ethics Commission board. There was a complaint laid on how he conducts his business going all the way back to 1999, August 11, 1999. Remember, I said the DA. Here is the actual lawsuit against the Collin County in the United States. Let me hear Kim Pickner, Keith. These are the people that are the plaintiffs. This was a lawsuit. A workplace sexual harassment discrimination settlement involving several Collin County officials was finalized on Monday. The settlement revolved 2022 federal lawsuit against Collin County District Attorney Greg Willis, who the prosecutor Bill Whisker is cool with. And first assistant Bill Whisker, first assistant he was at that time, the lawsuit alleged a pattern of ongoing workplace sexual harassment, discrimination. And y'all telling me that there's not no racism in that court because they just got sued for it in 2022 that created a toxic work environment, discrimination and sexual harassment. And Bill Whisker, the judge here, the Bill Whisker in this damn county, this should have never been in their jurisdiction to do this case. There was too much conflict of interest. The relationship between Bill and the defense lawyer, Toby Shook, that both of them should have been made to step down from representing this case because there's a conflict of interest when you have a relationship. And also when we get finished, there may be a relationship with Jeff Metcalf with this county because Jeff Metcalf has friends or a friend who has a relationship with all these parties involved. I'm going to get to that video where someone busts that out too. Don't play with me. You give me this kind of time to do the research and dig into this stuff a little bit more. Oh, wait till I bring some more stuff here for you. Let me go back to what the sister is saying. Y'all spent so much time talking negative about the black people who got kicked off of it. You didn't spend any time wondering why did educated black people who never were a threat to not be partial in the way they looked at this case, they get kicked off because they get penalized for being educated black folks.
The standard is one that really, if you just offer any kind of sliver of a reason other than race, it gives the judge the leeway to buy it. And the other thing that I raised, not just with the Batson challenge, but with this case period in Texas, because this wasn't a federal case, this is a state case, is every portion of this case, Don, to me points to the importance of our voting system and the importance of our showing up when it matters in local elections, because what I hope...
Okay. So what she's saying right there, and it does make sense, the reason why Collin County is the way that it is because of the fact that you got to vote. This is where voting does become a factor. You have to vote to put the right people in these buildings like you see right here, Collin County Courthouse. These people are elected into their positions in some cases, if not appointed. But in a lot of cases, they are elected. When you don't vote the right people in to represent, to do right by you, they're not going to do right by you if you got the wrong people in office as judges and DA, because the DA, you have to vote the DA in. And I think the DA is the one that handpicks the prosecutors that they hire. for their cases. This is crazy, y'all. Back to the family.
Video in court, it was like, I know y'all see this. I know y'all see this. And we got comfortable with the instructions that we was told. We was told not to say nothing. We was told not to do this. So we did everything we did. We followed all instructions and we were told, hey, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Hey, don't talk to this person. Don't talk to this person. It was all this. And look
what happened to your son.
To my son.
Right. But this is the thing, my brother. I have a little criticism for the father because your son's life is on the line, brother. And you're listening to people tell you to do this and do that. And the question becomes, when you're sitting up there and you're seeing the defense team not bringing enough witnesses, character witness, the only character witness that was brought up on that stand was his mother. When you should have had other people that should have been allowed to come up there. If they can allow the students of these schools to get up there and talk and say things and laugh and giggle, why couldn't Karmelo Anthony have the coach to come up there and speak in his behalf since he had a high GPA, which he did? It's like people abandoned this kid by default. They abandoned because people are living in this community and they don't want any backlash for supporting him, knowing that they didn't paint a picture. They didn't make Karmelo Anthony human. I said this on several channels over the week. Karmelo Anthony by the defense team was not made human. They didn't tell his story. They didn't let you know that he rescued a kid from potentially dying, a white kid. That should have been put on the court. That would have spoke to his character. The fact that he saved a life. The fact that he was the goal was to go to college. The goal was to go into engineering, that he had a high GPA. The fact that he didn't have a criminal background. This wasn't a black kid that was a criminal or had a criminal background and up into this situation took place. A kid who had a father and a mother. When this whole thing happened and broke out, a lot of y'all on social media was saying, oh, typical black kid, black male child doesn't have a father. Mother is a baby mama. And he wasn't a baby mama. He wasn't from a baby mama. Then y'all start criticizing them about what they were doing with the money in the gifts and go. I meant to put that on the screen today. The gifts and go, the CEO that runs it put out a statement on social media and said that the money was used for them to relocate because they told us that they were getting death threats and people coming to where they were living and their kids were getting scared. I believe all that to be true. But you have the people who run the gifts and go who said that when people are doing fraud, we get rid of them. They never got rid of them. So if they were doing so much fraud with the gift and go, then why did the CEO say that no, everything was legitimate and just left a statement on social media recently confirming that everything was up and up with how they handled the fundraiser? And damn it, I should have had that to go to show you the evidence of what I was talking about. It's about receipt time now. Let's go.
It sounds like you wish you had talked more, that you had said more.
Yes, you should have talked more, brother.
More.
I call myself trying. Sometimes you could do the right thing, but it could be the wrong thing.
No. As a father, it is your job to be the shepherd and to be the leader of that household. If you look, if it's my child life on the line and I see things not going right in the trial, I'm going to have a conversation with the defense team. I'm going to shake something up. I'm going to let them know I don't like the strategy. What do you mean you're only going to bring 6 character witnesses, only 6 witnesses? What do you mean you're not going to let us have character witnesses? What do you mean you're only going to have my wife speak and that be the only person? They needed to make Karmelo Anthony human. They did not make him human. They made him be what everyone thought he was, which was a monster. People came in that courtroom with their preconceived ideas of what he was and what had happened. Y'all on social media didn't make it any better. That ran with these scenarios that weren't true, demonizing the family. Then y'all was sitting up here defending Austin Metcalf's father. Well, you know, the father's grieving, and now he has shown you his racism, and I'm about to play some of that in just a moment.
Did Karmelo want to get his story out more to the public as well?
He was trying to listen. He was trying to listen to what he was being advised. Mm-hmm. You know,
but you the father, brother. You the father. Why would you put you the father? Your son wants to get his story out, so you should have made noise to get it out more. But the problem is this, and I got to go over this. I hate to bring up this Negro right here. The problem was Dominique Alexander.
Information is power.
Dominique Alexander, who has a criminal background, a Superfly background. Here he is right here. Some of his mug shots from his past. Here he is right here. All his various mug shots. I did a video on this on one of my channels, other channels I have, and I'm going to drop that in my community tab one day this week. Dominique Alexander in jail again after arrests in Denton County. That's right. Denton County, that's the county that I believe where this was supposed to take place, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm going to play that video for y'all. A judge issued a warrant Wednesday after prosecutors motioned for Alexander's bond to be held insufficient, a common request when a defendant has been arrested for another charge or accused of violating conditions of his bond. This man has a history of being abusive to his own child, abusive to his own woman. Here he is being arrested. And I ran some of these through AI to improve the look of the pictures. But this is legitimate. And there's even a legitimate video on the other channel that I have where I played the video of when he got arrested. What I'm trying to say, everybody, I'm not trying to be nasty here or mean-spirited, but when you've got this kind of man as your spokesperson with that type of history, it's hard for people to see Karmelo Anthony as innocent if they already have a preconceived notion when you got this fool running around with the history that he has and he's your spokesperson. I had said this a long time ago. It wasn't good for the optives. Optives are everything. Tell me that I'm wrong, y'all. Put sevens in the chat room if you agree with my premise here.
Don't make it about race. Don't do this. Don't
make it about race. Don't do this.
All right, we'll go again.
This is bad, y'all. This is bad. They took bad advice. They had a bad advisor, Dominique Alexander of the New Action Network, whatever he's a part of. That dude is just looking to make himself look good. And he continued to say things and put his foot in his mouth. That also was bad for them, having him advise them because he was an advisor. Then listening, dude, everybody, if your daughter and your son is looking at 35 years or life in prison, that's where you as a parent got to have a powwow with your legal offense team. And you got to shake some stuff up and say, look, I don't like the way if it was me, I'm going to say, I don't like the way y'all handling this case. We need more character witnesses. You're not making my son look human. There's a perception about what my son is, who my son is. You're not bringing anybody. Now, maybe there were people that refused to testify in his behalf. That's another thing I'm thinking too. Because out of those 3 people that came to court, 1 retracted their statement. 1 act like he didn't even know what the hell he knew what was going on. Remember? The defense team put these people up on there and made Karmelo Anthony look bad. Then he had 1 person that they had to subpoena. Obviously, they didn't want to come to court. The defense, the prosecution under Bill Whisker, who is corrupt to the bone, allegedly, because he was involved in that harassment case, that discrimination and sexual harassment case. And y'all sitting up here on social media telling us, oh, there was no racism in this court. Oh, this ain't racism. This ain't about race. And you got one of the prosecutors, along with the DA who prosecuted this case, were involved in a sexual and let me show y'all.
True, but one thing is for certain. Karmelo's
service Sam here on the Karmelo Anthony Austin Metcalf.
Proven. It was just something somebody.
Here go the DA when I want to show y'all. Here we go.
A group of current and former Collin County District Attorney's Office employees filed a lawsuit accusing the DA of sexual harassment. He denies the allegations and calls them politically motivated. Fox 4 Stephen Dial live with more details on the lawsuit and reactions to them. Stephen.
Yeah, 75-page lawsuit from former and current employees of the Collin County District Attorney's Office. We reached out to the district attorney and the assistant district attorney, and they both said that these allegations are false and said it's politically motivated. 1 week before Election Day, multiple current and former employees with the Collin County District Attorney's Office filed a 75-page lawsuit against Republican Collin County District Attorney Greg Willis, accusing him of sexual harassment. Willis is running for re-election unopposed. The lawsuit also alleges well-known North Texas prosecutor and the county's first assistant district attorney, Bill Worski, created a, quote, toxic workplace. Among the plaintiffs, Chief Investigator Kim Pickrell. She alleges
Bill Worski
allegedly made sexual advances towards her in multiple
I wasn't
settings.
probably saying his name correct. It's Bill Worski. Stop it right there. The individual you saw there is a little bit younger, but that's the guy right here on this picture. Bill Worski. Bill Worski. Let's move it back up. Let me make sure I have the right. I want to make sure I pin the right individual. Bill Worski. Okay, let me correct something. Bill Worski is the guy on the right who was the prosecutor in the case. Toby Shook is the one on the left. That's Bill Worski, who was in the indictment. And these two guys know each other, which is why they should have accused each other. They should have been made to step down from representing this case in any kind of capacity on both sides. Let me move this back so you can clearly see the face again.
Harassment. Willis is running for re-election unopposed.
That's Willis. That's the DA. Still in charge today.
Well-known North Texas prosecutor.
Boom. There he is. See, let me get these people, get these names for the right people right. That's Bill Worski, prosecutor. This guy right here is the one that represented Karmelo Anthony. That's Toby Shook. They have a relationship. And I'm going to let Professor Black give y'all some more details about that in just a moment. And here we go.
And the county's first assistant district attorney, Bill Worski, created a, quote, toxic workplace.
Toxic workplace where he engaged in sexual harassment and racial discrimination.
The plaintiff's chief investigator, Kim Pickrell. She alleges DA Willis allegedly made sexual advances towards her in multiple settings. That includes allegations of moaning, staring, full frontal body hugs, and comments about her body. The court documents say Willis allegedly told Pickrell he, quote,
Jay the informant, thank you for being here. Everybody for being here.
She looked too good. In a statement, the district attorney told Fox
Cream, thank you for being here.
I categorically and unequivocally deny these false allegations. They did not happen. Another plaintiff called herself Jane Doe 1, claiming Willis invited her to his hotel room during a work trip. She claims Willis told her, quote, "I'm not sure where it could lead, but we could explore." The plaintiffs claim they made complaints to HR, but nothing was done. And they allege Assistant DA Worski retaliated against them by changing work assignments and complaining about their performance. In a statement, Worski told Fox 4, quote, "This is obviously a politically motivated and politically..."
Stop it right there. You see how they play this game? When we talk about the politics of the Karmelo Anthony case, everybody, including the sellouts and the buck dancers, will tell us it ain't about race, and y'all now trying to make it about politics. When these suckers get themselves in trouble legally, then what do? This is obviously a political motivated and politically timed lawsuit based on lies and recycled untruths by some very degenerate and very troubled individuals, right? I can't wait to get into court. Yeah, you can't wait to get into court, Bill, right? That's why you guys had to settle for $1.75 million workplace sexual harassment and discrimination lawsuit involving several Collin County officials and Bill Worski, who is the prosecutor on this case that was shucking and laughing with the judge, who is Roach. We're finding out that there may be a relationship between Jeff Metcalf, the racist that we know he is now, for sure, it's confirmed. There may be a relationship between Jeff Metcalf indirectly through a friend of his who's friends with these officials like the judge and Bill Worski. You see. Let's go ahead and let you hear from. Let me play this.
Service Sam here on the Karmelo Anthony Austin Metcalf trial, and something just doesn't smell right to me. Now, we know Mike Howard, the lawyer for Karmelo Anthony, was hired by the family, but what a lot of people don't know is Bill Worski and Toby Shook used to work together, had the same law firm, had their names literally on the same sign.
Let me just show y'all what he's talking. The Professor Black's gonna get into it deep too in a moment. I'm gonna show you his video, opposing sides for the first time. That dude, Secret Sam or Secret Service Sam, this white boy dude, good. He does good content on touching on these kind of issues that go on. He does a pretty good job of it. Let's continue to hear what he's saying here. He's already said that there's a relationship. They should have been accused. They should have accused themselves of ever being involved in this trial. And y'all sitting up here telling black people that we being hyperbolic, that we being too caught up in race, that what we're saying is not true. And then you got black folks that were in the courtroom telling us that there was some shit going on. And y'all sitting up here telling us we don't know what we talking about. Shit.
In the same law firm. We're on 48 hours. Worked together for years to prosecute and put away tons of criminals over the years in the death penalty in Texas. So don't you find it a bit funny that two guys who used to be good friends working together were now on opposite sides of the courtroom? Toby Shook was representing Karmelo Anthony. Bill Worski was trying to put Karmelo Anthony away. And you're telling me these two, I mean, they said in the courtroom they didn't look at each other, didn't talk to each other. But you don't think that's a bit of a conflict of interest?
A big conflict. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a big conflict. And nobody can tell me different. It's a big conflict. What's going on, Michelle? Shook was a prosecutor in Dallas County. Oh, he was? Well, he's Shook is a defense lawyer now. Shook was a prosecutor in Dallas County. Okay. Well, now he's he was involved as being a defense lawyer now. This whole situation is crazy. Miss Independent, give me a super chat. Thank you.
Thank you for the super chat.
Metcalf is well-known realtor for, yeah, I did a video. I have a video of him. He was a realtor. He sold people homes, you know, things of that nature. Much love. Let me see. Much love. Love to you, brother. Keep the content going. Thank you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Right. We're going to tell it right over here. So you heard what he just said. Let's hear what Professor Black, how he breaks this down. Check it out.
True, but one thing is for certain. Karmelo's defense attorney, Toby Shook, had been a co-worker for the very prosecutor who he was supposed to be arguing against in court. In fact, Toby Shook and this Worski character were thick as thieves in the DA's office. 10 years ago, they both posed smiling like Cheshire cats with the so-called Home Run Hitters Award. This so-called award is from the National District Attorneys Association. These two were literally partners in crime for many years.
So let me stop it right there because I want to show you whatever he's showing you. I want to magnify the receipts. There go Toby Shook right here. That's Toby Shook. That's the one who was the defendant. He was supposed to be defending Karmelo Anthony, right? That's who he's talking about. And this little picture right here, look at this. This is them right here. Lead prosecutors Eric Williams' trial receives national honor. Bill Worski, Toby Shook received the prestige Home Run Hitters Award in Chicago. These guys was bosom buddies. These guys were business partners. These guys were lawyers in the trenches together. Then right here, Professor Black's going to show this article that came out of Dallas Morning News. They worked together for years. And now these lawyers are on opposite sides for the first time in Karmelo. They spelled his name wrong. Should be a K up there. Karmelo Anthony trial. Toby Shook and Bill Whisker have prosecuted some of Texas' most notorious murder cases together. But this morning, they're squaring off from opposite sides of the courtroom for the first time in their long careers. And then we wonder why there was all these shenanigans going on. We wonder why the defense lawyer, Toby Shook, didn't do more for his client, in this case, Karmelo Anthony, because also there was a relationship he had with his buddy over here. Let's get back to what Professor Black is talking about, y'all.
If nothing else, one of them should have been recused from the case altogether.
Right.
But this is who the Anthony family saw fit to prevent Karmelo from being sent to prison. This is who they chose to defend Karmelo. This guy only put up token objections to his friend the DA's racially purging the jury of black people. But it was only pro forma. He only did that as a CYA maneuver. But he didn't go any further than that. Remember, every time you talk about this so-called defense attorney Toby Shook, you need to include that he's a former colleague but a current friend of the prosecutor in this case. As I said, he wasn't given this when the old college try. In fact, he wasn't trying at all. And there's the usual trash who didn't like me referring to the jury as an all-white jury. Why not? It's true. There's been the predictable whining that there were some Hispanics on the jury and there was an Asian too. These are the same people who were outraged when George Zimmerman was rightly identified as a white Latino. We've already covered countless times how many in the Hispanic community identify themselves as white on their driver.
This is a fact. You have, because some people, this is another notion that people are going with. Well, there were people of color. First of all, a lot of Latinos identify themselves as white. A lot of these Latinos will feel that they have more in common with white folks than they do us. Asians, we just saw what happened not too long ago. I put a video out where you got what happened with a child and what he did to Cypress. And then you had Asian folks coming out talking about we don't need y'all business and blah, 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 blah. We've never had a kingship with them. We've done more for them. They wouldn't be in this country if it wasn't for us. And so we don't have this harmonious relationship with these other ethnic groups. And these other ethnic groups don't really have much love for us like that. So who cares that they had 3 Asians on this jury? They had every other race but our people. And for y'all Negroes out there who say, well, the black people didn't want to be on there. Yet that's a lie. There were black people that were qualified to be on there that were let go only because they were educators and professionals. although the jury was made up mainly and dominated by white males. And as I said in the other video, there ain't no way that Karmelo Anthony was going to get the jury was going to come back with at least. What I'm saying to you is that if they were going to charge him, he should have gotten a lesser charge of manslaughter, not 35 years murder. But it wasn't no way that these white males were going to come back with that type of verdict, given the times that we live in. We live in a government run by a white supremacist named Donald Trump in his mega crowd in this whole Make America White Again that they're trying to push. And you got qualified black folks in the military, black men and black women, who can't get the promotions that they deserve because of the racism of this administration and the racist individuals that he's put in charge of the military right now. And y'all sitting up here talking about race always matter. America was built on race at its very foundation. Let's go, Professor Black.
First licenses, job applications, census forms, etc. You had that Latino neo-Nazi in the state of Texas who decided to run a shooting rampage. He killed a number of Hispanic people, among others, and he himself boasted that he was white. And as for Asians, there's the exact same pattern. People from the Middle East identify as white regularly.
Oh yeah, you had a Middle Eastern on that jury.
The mass murderer
Everybody
Roger,
represented but us.
Whose mother was Malaysian, but that didn't stop him from identifying as white, saying that he was, get this, descended from British aristocracy.
Right.
And he would regularly refer to himself as the image of beauty and supremacy. While he wasn't white necessarily, he definitely knew the rules of white supremacy and wanted to get as close to it as possible. And he wasn't alone. This is yet another example of the fact that the most virulent and hateful anti-black racists are not even people who are descended from Western Europeans. You have a lot of these Latinos and Middle Easterners and Asians who also identify as white. White power hand-selected that group of jurors and didn't do it by accident. White power chose the jury's composition. White power definitely vetted them to make sure their minds were made up before the trial even started. Black empowerment is more than just melanin. It's also an oppositional ideology to white supremacy. There's a reason why the phrase white adjacent exists, because it speaks to the reality of how certain groups who are not classified as white nonetheless have collaborated with white supremacy and consider themselves to be auxiliaries of it. Everything from Latinos who insist on identifying as white on all documentation to the model minorities. That's just a fact. So yes, Karmelo Anthony was tried by an all-white jury. I'm not splitting hairs on that one. If you don't consider that to be white supremacist, then you might as well be tried by a jury made up of David Duke, Ben Shapiro, and the ghost of Charlie Kirk. Now, for the slowcoasts who are still in denial, if they want to insist that the non-Western Europeans on that jury weren't white supremacists in their minds, then what happened to the Black-Brown Alliance on this one? Why did the prosecutor feel so confident that if he let people of color on the jury with no blacks, then they would go right along with what white power wanted? Because he definitely wasn't trying to exclude anyone else from that jury. And you better believe, had this been a black prosecutor and he excluded all of the white people, every good old boy redneck and racist in Texas, starting with Greg Abbott, would have been screaming and yelling from the rafters saying that there needs to be an investigation, and you'd have them convening the state legislature and writing up laws to punish whoever that black DA was. They don't let black people exercise power over white people. If there's a black person who does something that the white society doesn't like, they make sure to do something about them. You do not see prosecutors ever trying to exclude white people from a jury. Ever.
You do not.
And that consistent practice is the pure.
You've never seen them exclude white jurors from a potential case because they're educators. Or because they work as a coach, they work in a school. But in this case, these individuals didn't even work in the schools that these two were even in. I can understand letting them go if these are teachers that worked in the school that both these individuals went to, or that these were coaches that they both had interaction with, but they weren't. So therefore, they would have you never hear them do this to white people. They didn't let them go because they couldn't be partial and could not look at the evidence. The black folks who never made the damn jury at all, they got cut for the reasons that they said some things that weren't right. Y'all focused on that, but didn't focus on the black people that were actually qualified to be on this jury.
Evidence that what happened to Karmelo Anthony.
That's why I don't want to be on no panels with none of these raccoons on YouTube.
That is the American injustice system. You can be morally outraged about the verdict, and that's fine. But the problem here runs deeper than just a corrupt prosecutor, a crooked judge, and a rabidly anti-black jury. The problem is that that young man was charged in the first place. The second problem is that the jury pool was constituted so as to have only a few black people from the very beginning. They wanted to make sure that the public saw this so they could show, see, we can make certain that there's absolutely no black people on this jury. It will be blatantly illegal, but we're white and we say so. This trial took place in Collins County, which has a black population of about 12%. The Asian population there is 21%. The Hispanic population, however, is only 16%, not much larger than the black population. And yet there were 3 Hispanics on the jury and not one black person.
Boom! Does that make sense to y'all? Does that make sense that you would have... They've managed to get 3, they managed to get Hispanics, even someone that's Middle Eastern, Asian. They managed to get all these people, but the black people that they dropped were black people that they dropped because they were educated black folks. They were educators. People who probably would have had a better understanding of the dynamics of how kids can get into these type of situations because they deal with kids. Why wouldn't you want those type of people on a jury that would have a good, clear understanding of the mindset of kids when they're dealing with kids every day, that they have to discipline in some cases, if not? Let's go.
And we're not supposed to be looking at the clerk of court and seeing that he rigged that jury composition.
Right,
from the jump,
there he is,
because
clerk
you
of
would
court.
Never see a white defendant.
Collin County, meet your district clerk, Mike Gold. Serve Collin County. This is the man who was involved in plucking black people out of... Look, they can manipulate y'all. They know where black people live at. They know what districts we live in, what communities. They know how to purge people.
Who just so happened to be tried by 4 or 5 black people and not a white person on the jury. You would think that if their system is truly randomized, then just as a matter of statistical error, you would get some outcomes like that. Instead, the juries are always consistently majority white, no matter what. This is because the clerks of court are the ones who select who gets chosen to be part of the jury pool.
This man
Most
right
of you
here.
don't know how juries are selected for trials.
Boom.
This is how it works. The clerk of court claims that they pull a list of names from the voter rolls and the driver's license lists, and that the people who make it into the jury pool are randomly selected. They claim that there's a computer involved, but you know what? That's not necessarily true. You'll remember I told you about the book When Corruption Was King by Robert Cooley. He was a mob lawyer in Chicago in the 1970s. He wrote in his book that even back then, the Chicago courts
Thank you, everybody. Share the video. Share the video and all your social media.
Who would preside over the cases at random, and that their system was also computerized. This was back in the 1970s. But as Robert Cooley explained, for the mob and the men who run the Chicago political machine, that didn't matter. They still had ways to make sure that the right cases landed with the right judges no matter what. But this doesn't just happen in Chicago. You had the recent case with Ken Paxton.
So I'm going to move this up a little bit because we're getting to the end of this. See what he's saying right here. Oh, this part right here is really good. Listen to this part.
The court deliberately and consistently pull from the non-black areas of town. You better believe that no matter how they claim to have selected the people at random, at the end of the day, they have all kinds of means to sit there and go, nah, this person comes from the wrong area. You think that they don't have the actual addresses for where these people come from?
Facts. Now, this man is the clerk. Professor Black is absolutely right. They have the ability to figure out the demographics and to pull and pick here where they choose to. I mean, isn't that what the Republicans are doing right now with gerrymandering communities where black people live when it comes to the voters the Voters' Right Act? Isn't that what the Republicans under Donald Trump are doing right now? So why can't they do the same thing when it comes to who they pick or the pool that they pick for a jury? Because the black people who successfully made it to a certain level, they got rid of them because, oh, they're educators, they're teachers, they're coaches, but not because of the other reasons. Makes no sense.
They look and see names that they don't like, etc. Now, the clerk of court for Collins County is a guy named Michael Gould. So you have a white prosecutor, a white judge, a white clerk of court, and a white defense attorney who's a longtime friend, colleague, and partner in crime with the prosecutor. And we're not supposed to look at this and say, man, this was just a kangaroo court from top to bottom. I'm not saying that having a different defense attorney alone would have guaranteed an acquittal, but I can say that having this clown as the defense attorney guaranteed that Karmelo Anthony would be convicted no matter what. He certainly didn't have adequate legal counsel. And this clerk of court, he made sure that the fix was in from the jump. I don't live in Collins County, but I can do basic math, and there should have been at least 2 black people on that jury. Instead, the jury pool was bleached, and the judge allowed a blatantly illegal move by the prosecutor to challenge and strike from the jury pool all potential black jurors. This is not a justice system. It's a white privilege engine that manufactures guaranteed outcomes, and the outcome is incarcerate black defendants.
That's what it is. It's about outcomes, y'all. To get the outcomes that you want by manipulating. Now, here's the judge who was also a part of this nonsense. Let me let you hear this.
We listened to the facts that happened here in this very courtroom, and they got a verdict. And so that's the process. And whatever they say, they get it right.
There's going to be a lot of scrutiny over voir dire. Mm-hmm. And you denied the defense and the dismissing of 3 jurors who at least identified as African American on their bioforms.
And they were appropriate.
What did you make of that moment?
Well, that's not exactly how it works. The defense didn't dismiss them.
I'm sorry, the defense raised an objection.
They raised an objection, yeah. They have raised an objection. Like I told you before, as long as I follow the law, I sleep well at night. And I'm telling you,
as long as you
follow
the law.
the law in that case. Did I know what the perception was going to be? Sure. I knew in the back of my mind what the perception was going to be. But I'm not here to satisfy perceptions. I'm not here to satisfy agendas. I'm not here to do any of that.
This is from a man who was under an ethics commission investigation, or at least they were looking into this man dating back to the commission on about August 11, 1999. An order and agreed Texas Ethics Commission. The complaint alleges that the respondent, which is Judge Roach, accepted expenditure senior 3 has a campaign treasury expenditure to exceed of 60 misclassified car loans and reported none of his activities on a form FD. Oh, I see what's going on here when it comes to the F. So they're basically saying, what little bit I could read on this, is that this good old boy, Judge Roach, had cars and various gifts and things that he had. You know how, because remember, these people are elected, so they got people that put money in the back of their pocket. So the Texas Ethics Commission was investigating him for maybe taking gifts that he should not have taken. Things like cars and various items like that, that he should have not taken, or that he should have that he did not report. So this man was already under a scrutiny at one point in time, and he's sitting up here telling me and you about the law. This whole damn Collin County is run by alleged criminals. I already showed y'all the video about the DA and Bill Whisker, who's the prosecutor in this, being under scrutiny in a lawsuit against him for sexual harassment and discrimination that they had to settle out of court for 1.70. What was it? Let me see this. I want to make sure I got this right. $1.75 million in workplace sexual harassment and discrimination settlement. Why, if you're innocent, why do you settle? Why did the DA of Collin County, along with Bill Whisker, why did these jokers, the same joker that's on this case with Karmelo, who's the prosecutor who prosecuted Karmelo Anthony and sent him away now for 35 years with 17 years mandatory minimum. You got a criminal. You got a criminal prosecutor. You got a prosecutor who probably should be in jail himself or not working in that job as an attorney, as a prosecutor, because he was doing criminal activity himself, along with the DA of Collin County. Alleged. It's not alleged at all because they gave a $1.75 million settlement. Share the damn video. Share the damn video. Let's go.
Those things. I'm here to follow the law, and I did it to a T, and I'm proud of that.
You did it to a T. Let me let you hear the second one.
A couple times because I'm legally required.
He's going to ask about Karmelo Anthony now.
He seems like a nice young man who committed a crime.
Oops, let me stop this and start it from the beginning. Sorry about that. Here we go.
What's your take on Karmelo Anthony?
I don't know. I really don't know.
You've had a lot of defendants in your courtroom.
I have had a lot of defendants in my courtroom, and I talked to Mr. Anthony a couple times because I'm legally required to go over some things with him. He seems like a nice young man who committed a crime, and he understands today, more than any day before today, the consequences of committing a crime like he did.
Let's get back to the racist guy right here. That's the father. Again, let me play out some more of what he had to say. This is going to be a full breakdown. Check it out. He said he called Karmelo Anthony watermelon, right? But let me let you hear his rant because he had a lot to say. Here we go.
You don't have your father in the home anymore. You got baby moms running around with 8 kids so they can get EBT cards to feed you all. You think I'm being racist? No, I'm being real. Oh, you've got more melanin than me. Ooh, so you get more privileges, more entitlement? Because 400 years ago, someone actually sold you to us and we took you over here and put you to work. And then we had a civil war to free your ass. And now you want to talk shit? Oh, I've been so oppressed. You couldn't even vote 1960. Look how far you've come. Look at all the free shit we give you.
We getting free shit.
You're not oppressed.
So we don't pay
You're
taxes.
entitled. You know what DEI stands for? Yeah. Means I don't have to be fucking qualified.
Black people only benefit at 4% when it comes to DEI. That's been documented and stats have already been put out there. White women benefit from DEI. There are certainly black people who have benefited from DEI, but we're not benefiting from it at high numbers. White people are so obsessed with this whole thing about what we as black people are getting. We've been asking y'all to leave us the F alone for so long, but y'all just can't stop messing with us. And so I have to say that the way this man thinks, it makes me wonder if your son, Austin, hovered the same racist type of thoughts as you do, because you raised your sons. You're spouting off how you really feel today because they took that gag order off your ass.
I just have to be a certain color or race or gender. Whose broad ass idea was that? I'm gonna tell you right now. Charleston White.
Now, Charleston White I got a problem with Charles and White. He first said he was going to help the family out with money. Now he's saying because he thinks that the father is weak and, I already got on I didn't like the way the father was saying that he just went with whatever they told him. And I didn't like any of that stuff that the father was saying. But then Charles and White comes out with a video and he says, F the father, I'm not going to give them no money. And, he said one thing he's going to do and then he flips. He just a flip. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Charles and White. But anyway, let's go.
You think you're funny? We'll see who's laughing. Drew Anthony, you're a pussy.
Talking about his father.
And you raised one. Kayla, you drunk bitch.
He's talking about the mother. He's showing you who he really is. Make sure you share this video, share this video, share this video. He's showing you who he really is. He's going to say he already has been insultive towards Karmelo in his statements. And I don't want to hear nobody talking about, oh, this is just a grieving father. There's a many of people that grieve and they don't use racism and say racial things to grieve. It's one thing to grieve and say, hey, my son was deleted. Justice has been served. Karmelo is responsible for my son not being. It's one thing to say things like that. But what he did is he took it, he veered over into the racial element, which he claimed that he wasn't about race. The same people on social media telling black folks that we're being too hyperbolic about the race issue. Why are you guys not going in on his racism that he's projected? He took it there. So now we going to take it there as well.
What'd you do to that boy to make him stab somebody? My God, what kind of mother are you? Hey, Kevin Hayes, you fucking liar.
See, he's telling you how you
Day
really
after
feel.
it happened. How many lies did you sit and type up on your keyboard, you big keyboard warrior? You a big tough man. You still live in Baton Rouge? Talk, Mr. Squeaky Clean. He's the only one in your family without a damn record. I guess that's something to brag about in your culture.
See, your culture. You hear what he's saying? There's something to brag about in your culture. So he disrespected the father. I know why he's doing this because I remember when they had that press conference and they had that Alexander Dominique, who I do not like, who I think was a bad advisor for them. And when he showed up at one of their press conference, he claimed he wanted to pray with them. They didn't want him there, which they had a right to ask him to leave, just as he would have the right to ask them to leave at his press conference. But and then people begin to say, oh, Jeff Metcalf ain't that bad. He's not a racist. Then when that dude, Jake Long or whatever, that white boy that Trump gave clemency to, the white boy that was involved in the January 6th, who's been going around agitating stuff. He's made a threat on the Carmelo Anthony family. That dude confronted Jeff Metcalf and told him, hey, like your son, I've been beat up by black people. That dude comes from a suburb in Chicago, just like Charlie Kirk's racist behind. And then Jeff Metcalf told him, oh, I'm not going to get caught up in the divide. Everybody gave him kudos. I said, okay, that's cool that he not getting caught up in the, now we find out. No. He's always felt this way. He just couldn't say anything when that Jake Long character, whatever the hell his name is, he couldn't say what he really wanted to say because he was under a gag order. That's why he didn't show you his racism at that time, even though we had already suspected he was. But now he's letting it all hang out and we know exactly how he thinks about us and how he thinks in general. And then we have to ask ourselves, if he thinks like this, then we possibly can make an inference as to the character of his son potentially because of the character of the father who raises the son. Which, by the way, we know that the son in the family didn't get along with this white man you see up here. And you never see him with the wife hugged up because they don't like him. Let's go.
You people hang your hat on the dumbest shit I've ever seen. Y'all can let me make something racist up so y'all can go viral.
Here we go.
I got a new name for Mello, okay? Because he was such this little boy y'all was trying to portray. How about Watermelon Felon? How's that one strike you? I hope he enjoyed his first night in that cell last night. Because he's going to have many nights to think about what the fuck he did. Tiffany Billions. I don't know what kind of glamour shot you steal from other people and put up on your profile, but it don't match to your fucking goddamn water buffalo looking ass when I saw you at the courthouse.
He's got more to
Charleston
say.
White,
Let's
look
let
like
it
a
all
fucking
hang
crackhead.
out. Let it all hang out.
Even though you got money,
Let all
you're
your
the only smart
racism hang out.
person,
This
really
is he's
smart
telling he's showing you who
person
he
around.
really is.
Hoo-hoo. Hoo-hoo. You're a grifting piece of shit. Your character says it all. I don't have to say a damn word. Your actions
I
speak
think
for
he's talking
themselves.
about Charles and
You
White.
and your little faggot bow tie? What the hell is that, dude? Maybe you and
Now
Chris
he's
King
showing
are
you his
butt buddies.
homophobic feelings.
Like y'all swap ties and shit. I don't know. Your little army of people? Maybe it was your Black Panther friends. Ooh.
Here we go.
Y'all are so fucking tough.
Let it all hang out,
You
Jeff.
talk a big fucking game, but really at the end of the day, you ain't shit. I'd scrape you off the heel of my boot.
And y'all telling us that this ain't about race. And this man gets on his platform. I understand he was under a gag order, but he gets up on some social media and he really lets all the racism, and he tries to justify everything he says as if it's not a big deal. Watch.
And normally I don't normally attack people like this, but I have been cooped up and caged up and this anger, and this is something I'm trying to work on. I need to develop it.
No,
and
it's who you
funnel it
are. It's who you always were. You don't say the stuff that you're saying, it's always been in you.
to a more constructive way. But tonight is the one time I'm going to allow myself. It's okay.
Yeah, because that's who
Tonight I'm
you
gonna allow
always
myself
were.
to say what I really want to say.
See?
Because most of the time I don't say what I want to say.
Boom. He says most of the time, I don't say what I really want to say because this was always in Jeff Metcalf. This has always been who you were. And your identity always has been who you were.
Because it's not correct. Just because you think something doesn't mean you believe it. Doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it wrong. Doesn't make it a fact either. Because all you believed, Karmelo was innocent. Newsflash. Guilty. Prison. You were wrong. Admit it. But no, what do you do now? Oh, there was no black jurors. You know why? Because you can't be unbiased, you dumb shits. If you answer the question, I can't send a black man to jail because he's black, you're not getting on the jury.
Now, this goes back to what all the dummies on YouTube who have been going with this narrative. Yes, there were black people who got purged from this because they said some things that got them taken down. But there were 3 jurors that were black who did not get taken down because they said something that would get them taken down, like, hey, I can't convict a black man. There were 3 of them that got let go, not because they weren't fit from a direction of their mindset, meaning, oh, we got to get rid of them because they're not going to be fair and impartial. They didn't get let go because they couldn't be fair and impartial. They got let go because they were too damn educated. They got let go because they were teachers and maybe a coach. People who had professional jobs and did not work in the schools. Another lie that was told, that Karmelo Anthony got kicked out of school or suspended from school because he had a knife. That's a lie. Never happened. Didn't happen. It's not factual. Then people are telling us Austin put together the tent that they were under. So what? He don't own the damn tent. The tent is owned by the school. It's school property. So maybe he put the tent up. It doesn't matter whether he put the tent up, whether it was a coach or a faculty member. The fact of the matter is Karmelo Anthony was sitting under the tent. It was raining that day, a storm. There was someone that he knew under the tent that he talked to that was cool with him being there, who ultimately lied and turned his back on Karmelo Anthony by changing his story and saying that he didn't even know him when he did. And there was evidence that he did know him because of photographs. So when I think about it, as I was told, I don't care that Austin put the tent up. Just because he put the tent doesn't mean he had the right to put his hands on Karmelo Anthony, no more than Karmelo Anthony should have stabbed him with a knife that has put him in this predicament. It should have never got to that in the first place. But you got cases, like I told you, where Bernard Gates in New York, he simply was asked, hey, can you give me $5? And all of a sudden he's powing people. And he gets off and only does 8 months in prison or in jail because he had an unlicensed firearm. Let's go.
You're so unintelligent, you can't even fill out a form correctly.
See?
You don't even know who you're
now
fucking
he's saying that black people are not intelligent just because as if there have never been. Look. Everybody in the chat room, have you been on a jury before or have you been called to jury duty? I have. Check this out. It's not just black people. See, everybody on social media is going with this narrative about black people don't know how to prepare themselves for. I've been called for jury duty tons of time in the past for certain cases, and I seen them remove people, white people, all different race of people who said, hey, I can't be impartial about a situation where a child has been molested and I got a child. Check this out. I was on a case, not on the case, but I was in a jury pool. And I already knew that I could not possibly be on that case because I have a child and it was about a child. And I was honest. I said, they asked me, can you be partial as it relates to, and it turned out that the guy did the deed in the end. I got removed from the jury because I said, well, I have a child of my own and I have some feelings about people who do that. Now you can say, oh, you shouldn't have said that. Well, in this situation, it was a white guy involved in this. It wasn't a black person, but it didn't matter to me what their race is because I didn't say it because I wasn't smart. I said what was on my mind because I clearly knew that I could not serve on that jury potentially based on how sensitive the case was because of how close to home it was to me. There's some people who get on the jury and they'll lie their way through the jury knowing damn well they're going to convict that person, but they just want to get on there so that they can do the deed. So don't make it about black people don't know how to. Those black people who said the wrong things, that probably said what they really honestly felt, should not be looked down upon because they had other black people who never said things like that they got rid of because of their academic background, their educational background and professional background.
That he is, because 78% of you don't have your father in the home anymore. You got baby mamas running around with 8.
This from a man who you never see a picture of him with his so-called wife. You don't see him with the wife because they are estranged from each other. This man was abusive. This from a man who had his jaw broken or had a injury given to him by the son. This from a man that the mother don't mess with. You never see them together. Where are the photos of him with the wife out and about talking about this. Even when they did the press conferences, they did separate press conferences away from each other. This man may potentially even have a drinking problem, allegedly. This man ain't a father of the year himself. This man right here.
Kids so they can get EBT cards to feed you all. You think I'm being racist? No, I'm being.
No, you are being racist, but let's get some status correction here.
Information is power.
For your business and for your information, everybody, show you how dumb he is. White people statistically use welfare more than black people. White people historically, when welfare systems were introduced, these social systems were introduced in this society, they did not allow black people to get them. It was only white people who benefited from the Great New Deal, the Big New Deal, or whatever the hell we call it. They were the first beneficiaries of welfare programs. They still remain the largest group of people who benefit from welfare programs more than black people. The original bag lady is not black people, because remember, Ronald Reagan back in the 80s tried to use that bag lady statement for black women. The original bag ladies were white women. White people in general use welfare programs more than anybody and more than black people, as Jeffrey Metcalf tries to make us the face of a welfare system.
Real. Don't bitch because Trump's president because you didn't vote. Don't vote for somebody based on skin color.
Now you can see right here that he's a Trumper. He's a mega head. He's a part of the Trump movement. These white men, that's why he's talking like this, because he feels emboldened. Donald Trump has put a battery in these white men's back who feel inferior to us. So therefore, that's why he's saying everything how he feels. But let's reboof what he's saying. Let's rebuttal it with another video of someone who's a white guy in Texas who's going to reveal some things to you about Jeffrey Metcalf in the relationship between him indirectly with a friend that has a relationship with the judge, the prosecutor, and Bill Whisker, John Roach, the judge, how all of them probably should have accused themselves based on the connection. Check this out. Y'all gonna get a treat out of this one. Check this out right here.
So, Jeff Metcalf, boy, I tell you what, he got a lot of nerve. I'm not going to sit there and say what I now know to be a fact.
Thank you.
But I'm just going to say this.
Everybody in the chat room, I want to thank you for being here from another CG, okay, to Jay the Informant, to Afro Punk. You're rocking with me strong today. Cream, Sister Cream, you're rocking with us pretty strong here. Everybody that's rocking with us strong here, thank you. Let's get back to it.
Got you, Hoss. I got you. And it's already in the works for you, the judge, and the prosecutors. See, when somebody has alcohol problems, they like to run their mouth too much. So they didn't know how to truthfully answer the best way of a direct question earlier, did they? Mr. Metcalf, you a racist also.
Mm-hmm.
I heard everything you said. What kind of military veteran you call yourself? Let me tell you something, Mr. Metcalf. Back in the day when I was in the Army, and I knew you was who you are right now, and who you've always been, I'd have whooped your ass.
Mm-hmm.
You got a lot of nerve to be talking about African-American people like you just did a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Sarah Fields, you got a lot of nerve to be sitting with that man, or however y'all did your interview. But that's all right. I've already made one important phone call to a very damn good friend of mine in Texas. Now I want to ask a question. How the fuck did this incident take place in Denton, Texas? But the trial
Denton, Texas. Hear what he's saying right here. Why did they move it to Collin County when it was supposed to take place in Denton, Texas County? In Denton County, listen.
Your interview, but that's all right. I've already made one important phone call to a very damn good friend of mine in Texas. Now I want to ask a question. How the fuck did this incident take place in Denton, Texas, but the trial was moved to Collin County, but that there was never a change of venue filed in the case? Oh, I know why. It's called that fucking redneck fucking judicial style shit down there. Because see, I'm just gonna tell y'all, the photo floating around with Metcalf and you know who, that shit ain't fake. That shit ain't AI.
Oh, remember I told you, everybody, there's some sort of, these people should have removed themselves. Metcalf has some relationship to some of these figures, or indirect relationship to them.
I can't tell you how I know for a fact right now. But I'm gonna tell y'all, this shit's for real. This shit is some serious shit. They never filed for a change of venue. No. That case was to be held in Denton County, Texas, not Collin County.
Wow.
But I'm gonna tell you what's up. When the dad of the person that lost their life is friends with somebody that's very good friends with the judge, Roach, and good friends with the prosecutors, where the fuck you think they moved the case to for? Why you think they put the case in the other county? Y'all some sorry ass motherfuckers, man. Let me tell you something. I may not have went to law school, but I'm damn sure smart enough to nail your asses to a blackboard. And like I said, I've already made one phone call, and I'm getting ready to make another first thing in the morning. Tell the truth. It doesn't matter whether or not he may have committed manslaughter. What matters is this kid never fucking got a proper procedural due process trial. And he's got a judge. He's got prosecutors faced with him. Why, they friends with a dad's friend of the deceased. What?
You hear what he just said? They're friends with a dad's friend. Let's put this back up here. Like so. The judge is friends with someone that Jeff Metcalf is friends with. The judge, you got the clerk, you also got the prosecutor, Bill Whisker. These three men, or the judge, at least the judge and the prosecutor, have relationship to someone who is friends with Metcalf, Jeff Metcalf. They should have removed themselves to be impartial. The judge should have never been appointed this case. The prosecution, because of the relationship that they have with someone who's friends with Jeff Metcalf, who could give him behind the scenes information. Do you see where I'm getting at here? This whole thing, to me, was a rigged system. I already played for you what some of the people said, some of the sisters said that were in the court, and said that everything inside that was going on was not right. You already know that there was too much stuff going on that was shady.
We did everything we supposed to, and he wanted people. Of course, he wanted somebody. They got pictures of him being 17 with a dress on, saying he could be raped in jail. Like all kind of these adults are talking about this child, but nobody's seeing it. So we can't say anything. The other family, they go paint this lie that nobody still have exposed, that he died in his brother's arms, and it was.
I want to play that because that was the lie that was told, that Austin made a claim that he held his brother in his arms, and that turned out to be a lie. So many lies. So many lies that was going on in this case.
The fuck? In case y'all didn't know, Metcalf does not have to be friends with the judge and friends with the prosecutor. Just him being friends with someone that's friends with them. I wonder if there's any photos of them all having beer together and playing fucking golf too.
Ooh.
But I'm gonna tell you this. Cell phone data. Who was at whose places? Who was it synced, y'all, with their cell phones right around each other? That means y'all railroaded this kid, and you even moved it from one county to another. I never knew that it was Denton County. I just knew that they called it Frisco. I never looked at the county. But I always knew that it was Frisco, Texas, where the incident took place. That's Denton County. That's not Collin County. The incident took place in Denton, not Collin County.
So it should have been in Denton
crazy.
County.
But again, y'all, they were supposed to have the Texas State Police immediately investigate. When have we ever seen something go down at a school where you only have local police involved? This shit's fucked up. You know, if I didn't know any better, it made me wonder if all this wasn't done on purpose to try to make a huge divide coming up to these elections. But I'm gonna tell you this. I seen everything Metcalf said. And I'm just gonna say this too. He got fucking recorded for everything he said. He was recorded for it all. Mello was moved to a different prison because they thought another prison was not safe enough for him. Look it up. He was moved to a different prison tonight. Y'all, please pray for this kid. And so many of you fail to understand. It's not that we don't have passion for the loss of life, but we have a right to feel that this kid deserves proper, true, adequate justice. And I have a reason to believe that the defense attorney trashed the case on purpose. And even I could pick different pieces and show you that he definitely didn't give him a proper defense like he was required to do to the best of his legal ability. Under ethic law, under ethics standards, he was required to represent that kid the best that he could once he signed a retainer and announced his representation to the case. There you go, Dean. See, Dean? Y'all pass it out there to Dean for me. Get it to him. Let him see this video. I'm not as damn legally dumb as you thought I am, or that you try to tell people. I could have provided a way better defense for Mello than this bitch that represented him. But somebody's got some serious explaining to do why they moved this case.
Why they moved the
where
case?
The incident took place. Somebody's got some serious explaining to do. How the judge and the prosecutors are friends with a friend of the fucking dad of the deceased.
Boom.
This is some trashy, shady shit.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you hear what he's saying there? There was a photo with Jeff Metcalf with one of these officials that people thought was AI, but it was real. And he's telling the truth. It's not that Jeff Metcalf, the racist that he is, it's not that Jeff Metcalf has to have a direct relationship with the judge or the prosecution. It's the fact that all he has to have is a relationship with someone who has a connection to them as friends hanging out. Therefore, they should have excused themselves from handling this case. And the case should have never been put over there in a county that it didn't belong in the first place. But like he said, they put it over there because it's redneck mob over there. This should have never happened. As I told you, I talked about the judge. I guess he was under fire, ethical commission investigation for whether he was taking gifts that he never reported. Then you've got this man right here, Dominique Alexander. I told y'all, I always thought that this man was not in the best interest of the family. He was too busy flashing for the cameras for himself. Too busy being about oneself. Has a history of criminal activity in which a child was harmed, abuse to his woman. I talked about that not too long ago. And this is the man that was there was a manhunt after this guy at one point in time. And I showed y'all this earlier. Let me let you see what he had to say here.
It's nice to have you on. You keep saying that black lives don't matter, but no black lives were lost here. A 17-year-old white person was killed. So what are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is 35 years. Karmelo Anthony was sentenced to 35 years. Yet at the end of the day, Black America repeatedly is told that self-defense is part of the law. That a knife under 5 inches is legal in the state of Texas. That stand your ground is legal here in the state of Texas. But when a black person try to use those same basic rights and laws, then we're not afforded those things. We're doing those things unjustifiably.
Well, that's not what a jury found today. Can you tell me, I know you know Karmelo Anthony well, why did he bring a knife to a track meet?
I can't comment on that. What I can do, I can't speak for Karmelo Anthony, but I can tell you that the state of Texas made it legal. So at the end of the day,
I want to stop it right there because I want to say this. I don't know how you all feel about this, but that's one of the things that was put out there that may have been a mistake by the defense team was not putting Karmelo Anthony on the stand so he could tell his own story, so he could tell the jury, the people, this is why I did what I did. This is what the fear that they were bringing upon me. Then there's some that say, no, they shouldn't have done that because what if he would have said something that could have triggered things even worse? But part of the problem is that usually when you have a self-defense trial, normally you put the person on the stand who is making the claim that it was self-defense. And then the prosecution has the burden to prove that it wasn't self-defense. And I just wonder if it would have made any difference, at least in the sentence that he got. Although people are going to say, well, the judge didn't make the decision. He left it to the jury, and the jury was given these rules. If you want a lesser charge, go with the lesser charge. If you want to give him a longer charge, they were given options. And out of those options, they went with the higher charge, which goes right with what I said about the stats when it comes to how often the stats show that normally, let me take this off right here. No, not that one right there, but this one right here. Black people usually get a 65% more often chance of a mandatory minimum sentence. Overcharging is challenging, but studies consistently show that black defendants are disproportionately subject to a harsher initial charge and mandatory minimum, 65% more often against black defendants than their white counterparts. And this is just the facts. I just wanted to add that to remind you as we get close to a conclusion here.
if a person got a problem with it, they might need to call Governor Greg Abbott and tell him, why does this state have open carry laws? Why does it have brass knuckles and etc. Right?
Stabbing somebody in the heart, though, sir, is definitely not legal. He could have just turned around and walked out of that tent.
And I'm going to say again, I hate the fact that Karmelo Anthony had a knife. I wish that we could go back to the days where when you got into something with somebody, if you had to fight, you fought with your knuckles and you still lived to dust yourself off and move on with your life. I wish that he had never had that object, that weapon, that knife. A knife that can be used as a weapon, should I say, in a situation like this. Because had he not had the knife on him, he would have, this may have never turned out the way it did and the way it did. And as I pointed to before, why was this never brought up in court? That in Texas Penal Code, Texas Penal Code section 46.03 permits individuals to carry smaller pocket knives on school grounds and at sporting events, though it strictly restricts larger knives and entirely bans all weapons from school property without written authorization. He didn't have a knife that did not meet this penal code in the state of Texas. However, even though I bring this up, I still think that he should have never had that knife on him, because he would not be looking at the situation that he is in right now, which is terrible.
At any moment.
Because
and based on,
he's put in a situation where now his life is in the hands of a white jury made up of mainly white people, some Asians, one Middle Eastern person, maybe some Latinos, a few black people that were let go because they said the wrong things, but then the 3 black people that were more than qualified get let go and penalized because they're educated. Only in America could this happen.
what you have been told about the situation, I can see how you can take that fact. But the levels of injustice that was done in this trial is not how I was told, right? But at the end of the day,
Dominique Alexander is right. There were some things that were shady about the trial. The whole situation was shady. But at the same time, this man is the wrong spokesperson for the family. They should have never brought him on board, because he just doesn't have the right background. And that also, as I said earlier in this broadcast, that adds to the optics of people watching the family and moving with Karmelo Anthony, and having this man with a criminal background, a nasty background, as their spokesperson. I just don't think it was good from an optics point of view, from a representation point of view. They needed to have someone who did not have this kind of background that people could kind of look into and dissect. It just was bad. Now, let me give you a taste of the DA, Willis, who was accused of those sexual harassments and discrimination lawsuit that Bill, the prosecutor of this case, was also involved in. Let me let you hear a little of his nonsense.
Hey, Willis, we appreciate you being here. How do you respond to that, being called an overzealous prosecutor who called liars to the witness stand? 21 liars, I guess.
Well, I've been called a lot of things in my time as DA, so I don't worry about that. What I do worry about is, did we follow the process? Did we follow the law? Do we present the evidence? And in this case, that's what happened. I mean, there were, oh my gosh, maybe 18 or 19 eyewitnesses, several of whom were African-American teenagers, and they all testified that this was an unprovoked stabbing. And so I understand people have to play to their audiences, and I assume that's what
what they always do, folks, is tell you, hey, we followed the law. Now, there are people, I'm going to go with this. I'm not going to speculate. I'm going to go with the people who were in the courtroom who said that he got railroaded. The people that were in the courtroom that spoke about this said that there was some funny business. These women right here, which I played their video earlier in the show, were in the courtroom to see some of the things that were going on. And they said you could feel the racism. They also said that there were a lot of these kids that were laughing and giggling, and also some of them that were changing their stories. And that Jeffrey Metcalf, the father, was giving signals. They were letting his family cry when you're not supposed to, because that can have an effect on the jury who are supposed to be partial. What hurt Karmelo Anthony dearly in this case was the fact that you had people who were supposed to be giving their testimony in his defense change their mind. One is subpoenaed to come to court, change their mind. One act like they didn't know anything. Another who the defense team never vetted what they were going to say. And remember in the video that I played, the video that I did earlier where I said, I did that video and I put maybe because that's the video that I produced before the sentence was laid down. But in that video, I had already warned that I didn't think he was going to win the case, that they should have given him at least at minimum manslaughter, but they didn't do that. They gave him the higher charge. And remember I said that the prosecution, Bill Whisker, whatever the hell his name is, this guy right here, I'm going to put him back on the board. Right here. He's to the right. Bill Whisker, not Toby, not the lawyer Toby, to the left, to the right. Whisker, Bill Whisker. Remember I told you that when he was talking to one of the defense team witnesses, he said to him, "Hey, I know you," or "Hey, I talked to your father by text the other night. Yeah, we had a conversation." So it almost appeared as if he knew the father personally, that he was aware of who he knew about their witness more than they knew their witness, because the defense team didn't do a good job of vetting who they were going to put up on that stand. That hurt Karmelo Anthony and having a good trial. They performed legal, what do you call that? When you sue a medical person for malpractice, they performed legal malpractice. They engage, I don't even know if that's even a legal term, but I think they engage in legal malpractice for this young man, Karmelo Anthony, on here. Ask yourself, why didn't his father tell them that stuff is not working right? I'm not feeling what you guys are doing. The father, in my opinion, based on what he said on the interviews with the Breakfast Club podcast, the father, in my opinion, was way too passive with going with whatever they told him to do, telling him, don't talk to this person. That's the problem right there. They didn't paint Karmelo Anthony as human. I'm not going to sit up here and deny that what he did was wrong, that he didn't do something wrong, that he should have never had that knife on him. There's all sort of things we can speculate, but we weren't there physically on ground. But what I'm saying is the father should have been more aggressive in making sure that this defense team represented his son in the best way. And he should have demanded more character witnesses. Unless those people that they wanted to be witnesses refused to get on that stand. But if not, why didn't the defense team get more people? Why didn't the defense team hire? I know it costs money, but why didn't they hire like an expert, someone that could talk about what people go through with the whole issues around flight and fight? They should have had a psychologist talk about people who could get up there and talk about what goes through a person's mind when they feel they're in fear and they have to defend themselves. On top of the fact that Karmelo Anthony himself, in my opinion, should have been on that stand and should have vigorously said and described exactly what they did to him. I'm not blaming Karmelo Anthony himself because he's a 18-year-old who's following what his parents say, following what the lawyers say. But they failed to make him human. They failed to let him tell his story. They failed to let you have some empathy and sympathy for him. Although he used a knife, which God knows we don't want kids using knives to solve their problems and taking the lives of someone. That's why he's in a position that he's in today, where he's looking at a long prison sentence, because A, he made a bad decision, a bad emotional decision. 2, he had a bad legal defense. And 3, he had a father who really was not aggressive enough and staying on top of the legal personnel and saying, wait a minute, we need to go in a whole different direction for my son. This is not working. A legal defense that took only a few days to bring up his situation, where the prosecution under Bill Whisker, who shouldn't even been involved in this because this man was involved in being indicted for discrimination and sexual harassment in this DA department of Collins County. And I showed the evidence of that already tonight. I showed the video. If you're getting in here late, you have to re-watch this video. I'm going to repurpose some of what I did tonight and make maybe some small videos that I can repurpose and re-upload for these, because I know people are not going to watch this video all the way through because it's probably going to be a long video. So I'm going to repurpose a few things. The father should have said, we got to go in a different direction. The prosecution put up 21 witnesses to Karmelo Anthony's defense team only putting up 6 people. And out of that 6, 3 of them screwed up. And the other witness that they had, which really didn't have much of an effect, was the officer who first encountered Karmelo Anthony, who said, yes, it's legal for him to have the knife that he had, but it wasn't legal on school grounds. That's according to what the officer said. But I showed you the penal code that said something a little bit different. This whole narrative that he ran was a lie. He walked to a coach, and the coach told him, son, your life is going to change forever based on what you just did. And Karmelo Anthony did not believe that Austin was going to necessarily die. I don't think the young man had full gravity of what he had done. Another thing that gets lost in this whole argument around Karmelo Anthony in this situation that is really sad, everybody, is that we're forgetting that these were kids. These were not grown adults. I want to put this up here like so. As we debate about this situation and Karmelo Anthony, why did he do this? Why? We're dealing with kids. He was 17 years old when this happened. Your brain is not fully functioning. It's not a fully developed brain at 17, not fully functioning, but yet it's not fully developed. A lot of juveniles, or a lot of kids make a lot of mistakes when they're youthful and their brains are still developing. So we're talking about this case as if Karmelo Anthony was a grown-ass man with a fully developed brain. Both of these 2 kids, Austin Karmelo, who unfortunately took his life with the stabbing of it, based on saying that he was defending himself. Both of them were immature. He was immature to put hands on Karmelo Anthony because you just don't know what people are capable of doing. Karmelo Anthony is very immature for taking out a knife and stabbing him with the knife, which has led to what is going on now, unfortunately. So that's what's getting lost in the sauce, is that we're talking about kids here. And it's not to make an excuse, it's just a fact that juveniles, that kids, that when they're this age, they make poor decisions. Their decision making is not the same as a full-fledged adult with a fully functioning brain. That's why when Karmelo Anthony did what he did, he didn't run, he went to an adult who was a coach. And that's when the coach told him, I'm going to say it again, son, you have changed your life forever. And Karmelo Anthony could not understand the gravity of what he had done. This, what I just quoted to you, was in the legal record. It was said in court. I'm not saying anything that wasn't said in court. It was said in court by the testimony of individuals that Karmelo Anthony may not have really realized the gravity of what had just taken place, what he had just done, because we're still dealing with kids, everybody. Kids. And we still forget there were people who were in the court, black folks that were in the court, that saw what was going down.
Already in line, meaning someone told those kids to be out here around 1 o'clock in the morning while they can make sure that those kids get seated in the courtroom yesterday.
But day before yesterday.
So sitting there in the trial on yesterday to hear the closing remarks, the arguments, the sentencing, looking at the jurors that was actually selected, no black jurors, watching jurors agree with the Metcalf attorney as far as motion their heads like that, there was no way Karmelo was going to get a fair trial.
Right.
It goes deeper than the makeup of the jurors. The jurors had already made up their mind before they even was seated.
Right.
And so it was a trial to where I heard someone state they felt like it was a lynching. To watch Karmelo tremble, cry, and didn't really even get the support because he didn't really have a legal defense team. He didn't have a legal team there. He had a guy to where the judge yelled at his attorney and told him to speak up because they could not hear him. He didn't have representation. And then for me to be within that number to get seated along with her, we had to sit on the Metcalf family side. I heard remarks when they came out and they convicted Karmelo of murder. You saw the students, they were cheering, they were laughing, they were clapping. You saw adults that was laughing, clapping. The judge did not hold them in contempt. But before the verdict came out, the judge said, if I hear any outbursts, you're going to be in contempt, in jail. But I think that rule he was trying to apply to the black people that was in that courtroom. Not for the
Information is power.
I want to thank all of you that have been here today, that have supported the channel. I want to remind you again that this is the Toby Shook, who was supposed to represent Karmelo Anthony, did a horrible job. Has a relationship with Bill Whisker, who I told you before was the defense lawyer to the right, was also involved in a scandal in the Collins County DA's department down there in Texas, where he and the DA Willis were involved in discrimination and sexual harassment of women and had to do a payout of $1.75 million. They claim they were innocent. They claim it was about politics, but no, they did the deed. That's why they settled. I told you before, the news clippings about their relationship in the Dallas Morning News. Professor Black brought it up. Here's another one. They were partners in business right there. Lead prosecutors. They should have been asked to remove themselves from representing either case on either side. The judge should have been told to step down as well because, as I told you before, Metcalf, the racist himself, has a friend that has a relationship with the judge and the prosecutor. So they should have never allowed them to oversee this case. You have the clerk who there may have been some manipulation from the clerk. Here go all three of them. The clerk who is capable of manipulating the jury pool. Judge Roach. Bill Whisker on the left, and Toby Shooks, or whatever the hell his name is, on the right. Again, the question again, Karmelo Anthony trial. The legitimacy of the jury is in doubt. Justice needs jurors that reflect a diverse community. Thank you for the super chat. Let's put what you put on the board. I'm about to end the show. Everybody, I've been on for a number of hours now. I'm going to end up cutting this video up and I'll give each little segment of the video that I did. I'm probably going to cut it and reformat it or repurpose it and send it out as its own individual segment of the show. Because I know people are not going to watch the whole program from start to finish. Those of you that's been here with me, you're watching it from start to finish, that's been rocking with me this long. But for those who have watched this on a replay, I got to repurpose this because I put a lot of heavy information in this. Thank you for the super chat.
Thank you for the super chat.
Karmelo Anthony. What's going on, Evolving? Thank you very much for that super chat. And then I've got my man Yalpo, who's making those beautiful animations that we've been talking about. What's up to you, brother?
Thank you for the super chat.
25,000 or 100 million. The new that the jury had to go back to their communities. There was no way they were going to be fair. Yeah, because they lived, and people don't understand. Collin County, from what I understand, in Texas is a tight-knit community. Everybody knows everybody. So there's no way. And then this is another thing I want to say to you guys that seemed a little inappropriate. The judge, Roach, when this whole thing went down, after the decision was over, he said this will heal the community. This judge right here was quoted as saying that this will heal the community after the situation took place. The question is, what if Karmelo Anthony would have won the case and not been convicted? What would have been the feeling of Judge Roach? Would he had said then that the community was healed? No, he would have never said that. And this is another reason why these people should have never been on this case, because there was a bias. The judge, the prosecutor, and then the relationship between him and the defense team lawyer, it's all dirty. It all stinks. It all smells like boo-boo and dookie. Drew Anthony does not need us coming down on him. No, brother, I'm not coming down on him. I'm simply saying that as a father, you can't sit back and see that they're not doing the right thing towards your child. You've got to step in and you got to say something. You got to say, wait a minute. We got to go in. He told you point blank in those interviews that he didn't do nothing. He just let everything play out the way it did. He wasn't happy about it. But I'm saying from my point of view, I'm a father. I don't know if you're a father. See, this is different. If you're not a father, you won't understand. Anybody that's not a father or a parent, should I say, then you can't understand what I'm really saying because you don't have a child to worry about. If it's my son, my daughter, and I'm watching what and everything that he said, if I'm seeing it, I'm speaking up and I'm telling those lawyers, man, this ain't going in the right direction. This is not me punching down on him. This is me giving a critique based on the fact that Karmelo Anthony is looking at 35 years. With a defense that was terrible. Even the father admitted that it wasn't good, that they just used his son as an example. This is what he said.
Well, that's not true, because that is a narrative. Yeah.
No, you never heard it no more. That was a lie. You heard about a bag. You never heard about a bag since trial. That's what I was telling people. A lie is temporary, but the truth lasts forever. It's just now, it's like harder now. I got to fight to get the truth out. He basically had to get the book thrown at him, 35 years in this county that basically, I honestly feel as though that they manipulated us with a smile.
See?
They act as if they cared, but they really didn't. When they win the jury selection, we seen all the people with the jury selection. I was like, baby, this is not right. But my wife is the type of person. I'm not gonna just say us. We're both the type. We try to be positive. Hey, we're not gonna look at it. That's not what it is. That's not us.
Boom. He said it out of his own mouth. He knew that something wasn't right. He admitted that they didn't care about him or his family. He admitted that they used his son as an example. He realized that things weren't going right. That's why I said, as a father, you can't sit back and be a passenger in this car. You can't sit back and be just a passenger. You got to be a participant. You can't sit back and let the system just go do its thing without you making some noise. And I think what I'm saying is I think he regrets probably not doing the things that I'm saying. Because when you're passive like that, your son is looking at being in prison forever. You can't be a passive participant in the situation. He just admitted in these interviews that they were trying to believe what everybody was telling them. But then at the same time, they noticed that things weren't right.
That's what it was.
So even when you noticed there were no Black jurors, it gave you pause. It made you want to say something, but you were still going along with the process.
Yeah, I was going along with the process.
Boom! He said, that's just the problem right there. Everybody, when you're in this situation, you can't just go along with the process if the process is going wrong. He's admitting that he didn't say certain things, they didn't do certain things. And as a parent, your child is looking at all these years in prison, and this is not punching down on him, it's just a fact. I believe in telling the truth over here.
Tell the truth.
If my child's in this situation, I'm not going to play. I'm going to be a participant. I'm going to sit down with the lawyer. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm going to certainly give them my opinion about what I don't like and what's going on wrong. And the one thing that the family would have under their control is to be able to say, we need to have this person testify for him. We need to get his teacher. We need to get his coaches. We need to remember Karmelo Anthony saved a white child from passing away. He rescued a white child. Why couldn't they have gotten the family of that child to come in and do a character witness for him? Why? I'm going to tell you why, because this is a tight-knit community. And like someone said in the chat room, these people didn't want to walk around this community and be looked at as pariahs for not going along with the status quo of the community. And they said themselves, or the sisters that I played that were in the court said that when the sentence was handed down, the kids from the schools were laughing and cheering and laughing. I told you earlier in this stream that Jeff Metcalf was able to get away with signaling to his son on the stand. When he was saying stuff, he would signal to him, almost like saying, no, don't say it that way, say it this way. Why did the judge allow that? I get it. People testified against him and said he did A, B, and C. But why did the judge allow things to go on in this court case that people that were in there witnessed that didn't make sense? Why were black people purged from this case? Again.
Jurors who were black, who made it to kind of the final phase
The
of the
final
jury selection
stage.
process, they were struck by the prosecution, and the defense raised what's called a Batson challenge and put before the judge their belief that they were struck because of race. And the prosecution offered by way of response that they were struck for what we call neutral reasons, that they were educators, that this involved witnesses who were going to be coaches, students in a school system, and that I don't know if the
argument again is that those particular black folks that made it to the final stage were cut because of their educational pursuits, because they were teachers or going to be working in the school district. But they did not work for the actual schools that these two young men went to. That's why. Why don't people look more into that instead of focusing on the low-hanging fruit of black people who said what they honestly felt and got let go? Y'all focusing on that, but not the black folks that were more than qualified to be on here that were let go for bogus reasons. Everybody, I thank you. This is the Information Man Show.
Tell the truth.
Thank you for watching. I appreciate you all out there for being here. Do me the biggest favor and subscribe to the channel. Subscribe, send this throughout the social media. Subscribe to the channel. Put this in your community tab if you're a content creator. Let people know about the channel, right? You can find me on the various social medias. I'm on Facebook. I'm on TikTok as well. I'm on Instagram as well at Information Man Show. I'm on Threads as well at Information Man Show. Follow me on all those platforms. Another thing I'm going to be doing a lot more than I'm noticing, I'm going to be putting out some raw 3-minute shorts that I'll be dropping on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. I'm going to start doing some heavy content where I can speak my mind in a very shorter fashion and utilize my equipment to put out more content all over different platforms, which I've already started doing with the shorts. So check me out on the TikTok as well. Everyone, should I say, who's been rocking with this channel, thank you very much. I appreciate you. This is a damn shame. And I don't know, y'all. Peace. Thank you very much again.
Honestly, I'm used to throwing wishes in the well. My conscience tells me that I could have helped without fail. Actions speak louder than words, and that's a lesson that I learned all by myself. Let him know, I gotta let him know that she my white boy, she my medical. She like my baby mama, know how to take care of me. Give my baby problems, you gon' regret everything. So I let him know, gotta let him know. Get through the front door, I'll be ready for it. And if it's what you want, I'ma give it to you. Yeah, promise, I'ma give it to you. Like, la, 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 la. Stress is all around us, these high ceilings, and I need it, baby. Pressure and make diamonds, I won't steal it, baby. Silent, baby. Hurts to see you crying, know you trying, ain't no lying, baby. When I say I need you, greedy if I have to share you. It was me that all along did you wrong, thinking that I made you beautiful and strong. This toxicity, the death of me, I fear the day you gone. The most beautiful girl I've ever known.
I'll find a way to treat you better. I swear there's no one out there like you.
BS3 Network is now on Roku TV under BS3 TV. Download today. BS3 Network, changing the way you listen to podcasts.
Hope I see you soon. I'll find a way to treat you better. No problem, I'll do it.
Let her know, I gotta let her know that she my white horse, she my medical. She like my baby mama, know how to take care of me. Give my baby problems, you gon' regret everything. So I let her know, gotta let
Tell
her
the truth.
know. Came through the front door, I'll be ready for it. And if it's what you want, I'ma give it to you. Yeah, promise, I'ma give it to you.
Everybody take care, peace and respect. Alicia, thank you. Everybody in the chat room for rocking with me. I suspect this video will get a lot more views after the fact. Seems like my channel is turned into that type of channel now. Take care. Peace.
Let her know, I gotta let her know that she my white horse, she my medical. She like my baby mama, know how to take care of me. Give my baby problems, you gon' regret everything. So I let her know, gotta let her know. Came through the front door, I'll be ready for it. And if it's what you want, I'ma give it to you.